the Toys that lived beside him there, Danny Toys, is the same. He's Alzheimer's. He went missing there a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
We found him up in the Phoenix Park running around because he used to run it on his lunch hour up in the Phoenix Park. And he just somehow got out of the house and ended up in the Phoenix Park running around.
Jeez, yeah. Oh. There's an awful lot.
These are all photocopies, I think, of stuff we have. So.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's another guard.
Now, Jack, Noel Nugent is dead, Jerry Drummond is dead, Jarlath Lee still alive down in Wicklow, and that was O'Mara, who was in the Army School of Music, and as things moved along, he was able to transfer into the Guard because he was a musician, and he got into the Garda band. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, there's another guy that he would have been an instructor in the Army.
Jim Scully.
Jim Scully.
Yeah.
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 His two grandsons played for the club for a while.
Yeah.
They moved up to past Dundalk.
Right.
So they just got two.
Yeah.
Two
Well, I had a Belgian newspaper, right? Because Jim Scully, in the day in 1961 or thereabouts, probably 61, Dublin Celtics were in the European Cup. They went into it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you told me this before, and you ended up going with them as a banger.
I went as Romas Verbilia. That was my name. And I don't speak English and all that. Remember I told you that?
Yeah.
And I went, but Jim Scully, because he had the money, also went. You see?
Right.
And I had the Belgian newspaper and a photo with Jim Scully in it. He actually got playing time and everything because, we'd only 8 or 7 or something like that. And he got playing time. And I gave it to his widow.
Right.
Or I gave it to you for his widow, but she got it anyway.
She did get it because his daughter was involved in the 50th. I introduced you to them
I did. That's what I mean. Yeah. And I remember giving that, and I'll there's chances are now when I'm on this rampage, I'm going to get more stuff that you can distribute. You know what I mean, to different people.
Well, I'm your man, so.
Yeah. Oh, I'll go to you, Gary. The fact that you're alive to it all and interested in everything. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Billy Kelly. Now they're mine, I think.
Yeah. I don't remember him.
Yeah. No, they're mine.
Yeah.
They got mixed in there somehow.
Oh, that's
they were in my, and
that's the Corinthians tournament now. The players number 6.
Yeah.
They got that.
Throw them in there. Because I brought them down to Cork. One of the times we were down in Cork, and the lads who run the Billy Kelly still going, and that's when I played. In 2 years I played. And they were amazed that someone had kept them. No one had ever kept them.
That's right. Yeah, you see the stuff like there's so much we're good. As I said, those, but only for you and your likes. Those boxes of stuff could have gone in a skip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, we're going to.
That's it'll be the international occasion. The Lord. Oh, there's your man in the front. Murray Gordon was a Jewish fella, and he was a kind of on the fringes of Celtic and Dublin Celtic.
Like these are brilliant.
Oh yeah. That's Jack.
Yeah.
That's Jack, and he gave me. I had that AAU jacket after the All Ireland in '63, and I was going around in it.
He died there recently as well.
Sean Tracy.
Yeah. You and Jack. This is Jack again, I'd say, is it?
Yeah, that's him. Yeah. Yeah, which is there's an awful lot of stuff there. Gosh, yeah. That was a Dublin team, the Dublin inter-county team.
Okay.
And the gas, they had a.
Yeah, mine as well.
Yeah, They had
pocket the same way on way
I haven't got a back pocket, so it's going to have to go into my front pocket. Will I go back?
through top.
You put these in your pocket, will you? I'll give you this stuff. You put it in the car even. Just to,
that was the Dublin team, and I don't forget who was called, but anyway, no, that'll do now. Go on. Well, you would find that. They, yeah, it's,
that's one of mine.
yeah. Well, I think Jerry Donovan. No, Tracy was coach of the Dublin team,
Yeah.
and they wanted a practice match, right?
Yeah.
And they asked me would I round up a team, and I got Dave Fitz and fellas coming up and that, and we beat the Dublin team.
That's my team there. We won 3 All-Irelands with that team. That's my younger brother there.
Oh gosh, yeah, brilliant.
That's Martin there in the grey.
That's him. Yeah, that's him. I'd recognise him there. I don't recognise too many more nowadays.
Yeah, no.
These are kind of after
Yeah.
my time. Yeah.
They would have been. That's Carl Donnelly. That's
Yeah.
what's his name?
Shay's son. Yeah. Is his son gone to play soccer or something, isn't he? Carl Donnelly.
Carl's 2 sons play with Rovers.
That's right. Yeah, the 2.
I think the 2 of them are. Yeah. He's talking of moving them back because they live on Grace Park Road, and they train out near Clondalkin. They have a place out there. They train, and it's just too much for him. The young fella's a great little Gaelic footballer as well. The youngest fella, I think, is going to be the better of the 2. I haven't seen them, and actually I was meant to go and see them play last week, and I never got around to it.
Yeah.
These are all things I want to keep here. We won't use that because we have other photos.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know you decide.
I'm sure we're going to have loads to talk about. It'll be just like we're doing now.
Yeah.
That's all we want.
We're just going through a natural kind of a thing, and who's whatever. Yeah.
We'll keep that because that's.
Yeah.
And I have one. I think I have the Abbey one there somewhere.
Glen Abbey. Yeah.
Glen Abbey. I want it. If I'm going to put the Corinthians
It's actually recording away there at the moment.
Oh yeah?
It's just a chat.
Just a
exactly
chat.
what you're doing there.
Yeah. Well, I have you film? Have you, or are you just on...
No, it's film.
Digital. So I have 2 cameras going. There's one going up there and there's one going there.
All right.
One's pointed at you and one's pointed at Gary.
Okay, and what about the dogs? Are they all right?
They're all right. You're all right.
This is more up to date stuff, I think, in here.
Yeah. They were. I think they were. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This really. This great. And the good quality of
Brilliant.
Those photos were taken by a professional, by Dick Rowley. God be good to him. Dick Rowley was a member of Corinthians.
Okay.
So that's why the very good ones, we were playing Corinthians. So he was anxious.
I was talking to one of the Corinthians lads recently, before lockdown, because I was telling him I had some of these photos and he was in some of them.
No.
I absolutely adore.
They were taken by him, by Dick Rowley.
Yeah,
he was an evening press photographer.
See, my thoughts on this now is if the club by any chance ever got their own place, that we get these redone.
Oh Jesus, you had the makings, Oh, you had, Well, all I can say is that may your enthusiasm keep going forever, because like if you don't do it, it won't be done. You know what I mean? That's that's the bottom line. And to have someone that's kind of so committed to it all, you know, and has lived through it and whatever, you know. And
Well, I'm 54 in July, so the club has gone a bit longer than me, but
yeah,
I've been there. I've been there
Yeah,
now since I was 15.
yeah,
So
yeah.
40. Nearly
For
40
under
years.
14s was generally the take-off point.
I started late because
Yeah.
I played other sports,
Yeah.
and really, I played a bit in primary, but it wasn't until I got into first year in secondary, which was I was about 13 or 14.
Yeah, that's right. Under 14 was, you see, in the Leinster colleges, which was, you know, they had under 16s and under 18s
Yeah.
competitions, but in 1961 they introduced under 14,
Okay.
and that meant that the boys coming from the primary school over to the secondary,
Yeah.
they were straight into a basketball program.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if they wanted to play basketball, there was a
Yeah.
team and an age to suit them and everything. You see, now some of the other established players didn't have under 14s. There was none, so
Yeah.
they were gone on to 16
Yeah.
before they started.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of way.
14, 16 and 18 were the schools.
That's right, yeah. The 14 only was the last one to come in,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
meant that the any of the fellas that didn't qualify for, that there wasn't under 14 at their time coming over, they just missed out on that. They had to wait
Yeah.
for under 16s. But when the under 14s got going, then we had the supply chain coming.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
after every year,
Yeah, yeah.
every year.
Conveyor belt.
Oh, every year, and it wasn't a case of the Leinster colleges was played in the last term generally, you know, from say May and that, and it was one game knockout, you know what I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that kind of thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and there was no basketball played until that term, you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas when we got going, those under 14s were out every day from
Yeah.
September.
Right.
And they were building right through.
Yeah.
And when they came then to their actual competition, they were really ready. You know what I mean? Whereas other teams would be wondering how they got a big fella, or could they find someone
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all
yeah.
that, you know. But like, we knew what we had, you
Yeah,
know. And there was a dedicated brother in the school whose job it was, given by the superior, everything basketball, you're
Yeah.
take care of it, whatever they need and all the
Yeah,
rest,
yeah.
you know. So that whole program, you see, when you got that running for 3 or 4 years in a row, along came doses of players.
Yeah.
Good. There was no weak fella on those squads, you know. Like, they mightn't have been the best in the country, but they weren't. They were well coached, you know.
Yeah. Well, from the beginning, I remember Brother Burke telling me that they had. He used to stand at the gate, and if you weren't playing sport, there was a sports day once a week. Would that have been right?
Yeah, there was something like that. There was a screening thing at the gate. You didn't get out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
He stood at the gate. Where are you going?
Yeah. And if you didn't play, you had to play something. And then if you were big, you were diverted to basketball straight away.
Yeah.
You know
I
what
remember
mean?
him telling me that.
Oh yeah,
And he used to say, "Okay, you're going to basketball, you're
Yeah.
going to football, or you're going to hurling,"
Yeah.
and something was picked for you if you liked it or not.
That's right. That's right.
You know.
Now, do you see, even before that, in say 1958 or so, when basketball got going, you know, when they put up the baskets in the yard and that, there was fellas who didn't play anything
Yeah.
suddenly had something they could try out.
Try out, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And there was a group of them, including Ollie Hearns' brother Vincent,
Okay.
who basketball was made for. Because
Yeah.
all the deception and you know, the way
Yeah.
look one way past the other, he had all that, but that was no use in football, or you know what I mean. It just didn't get him anywhere. So he was an average kind of a footballer on a club team, but when basketball came, he got a whole new horizon. You know what I mean? Like, and he got going. Now, he didn't play that long because, you know, he went on to whatever.
So when you went into the school, obviously it was probably second or third year, was it, before you took up basketball?
It was fifth year.
Fifth year.
Yeah, yeah. See, the age thing, basketball came in 58 and I was I 15? Yeah, I'd say I was 15 or, well, 3 from 8, yeah. 15 to 16. That's when it came in. And the first wave was just for the Leinster colleges. You know what I mean? There was no real programme. They just said, we're going to have basketball, we're going to enter the Leinster colleges. Brendan Buckley came in from Tralee, who was he was a shift worker in Dublin, which meant he had some time off. So he gathered in volunteers, people that wanted to play, and there was loads, as I said, of fellas who didn't play anything,
Yeah.
but got into this.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't too physical and whatever, you know.
It was great to see him actually the night of the 50th, wasn't it?
Fantastic.
You know, and hopefully,
yeah.
hopefully he's still alive. And we might get
I'm
them
not certain. I'm not certain. I was at his wife's funeral 2 years ago down in Tralee, and he had gone, you know, the dementia trail and awful deaf. You see, you couldn't communicate. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know, like it was a very unreal kind of a thing. Now I haven't heard that he died or the like. So I don't know is the answer to that. But he came in and I said he had he was also in St. Joseph's in Fairview, Nave Joseph.
Yeah.
He was in that club.
Yeah.
But he rode his bike into the yard, put it against the wall and started coaching.
Brilliant man, like.
Yeah, just the love of the game.
Yeah.
The love of the game. You see, this infection, as you could nearly call it, came with the baskets up, and here's loads of fellas looking at it and wondering what it's about and trying it out, and you know what I mean? For fellas that were uncommitted to other sports, you know, so they got going. But with the bit of know-how and the knowledge, you see, came from Brendan Buckley.
Right.
And then he got teams going, and then he started to get improvement. He started to get players that were good minors, you know, good under 18s and that. And then, you know, it went on from that there was enough good fellas around to train in whoever was coming, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like you get them into that kind of a setup, you know.
And who would have been on that team that he came in and coached?
Well, he came in and coached. There would have been the likes of Clem Keys, the likes of Vinnie Hearns, other names that fell by the wayside. I can remember Jim Kelly. I can remember Paddy Byrne he was a boarder in the school, you know, and different fellas who found an outlet in basketball that they didn't have.
Yeah, well, it would have been good for the borders as well, because
the borders weren't. They were more for the soccer in the yard kind of mentality. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because soccer was rampant at the time. You know, everything was soccer. You know what I mean? And that was through the 50s, and the brothers' schools with their very Irish ethos, they were all the time promoting Gaelic and Irish thing and the language, you know, talking the language and you know, and handball and you know, anything that was Irish. And of course you're operating then in the days when the ban by the GAA was still in operation. You know, there was sports you couldn't play, you know, you were banned from playing.
And how did basketball come into that?
Basketball escaped the whole thing. Yeah. Because it wasn't one. There was 4 designated sports. Yeah. That the GAA had banned their members from playing. Was rugby and soccer and hockey and something else. I think there was 4 sports. But anyway, we couldn't play that. But the brothers, you see, they were trying to get the kids behind. There was a revival. See, St. Vincent's GAA came good in the 1950, 49 or 48 or something. And these names, Heffo, Ollie Freeney, Jim Crowley, all these, Mick Moylan, these fellas, the brothers were keeping those names in front of the kids in school. Now you'll be as good as Jim Crowley, or you know what I mean? Yeah. And they were all the time getting them away from soccer and into compulsory Gaelic, if you like.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And that was the way they did things, you know. So I was pulled into Gaelic, you see, and then not alone did the brothers promote it in the school, but in fact the school people, the minors and juveniles and all, they all went into Na Fianna.
Yeah, yeah. It was like a kindergarten for
Yeah.
for Na Fianna.
Or
It's
Na-
still is. It's still well.
To some
I
extent.
don't know what it's
Yeah,
like now.
yeah.
I think the other schools, an awful lot of kids that live in Glasnevin, they go to the Irish school beside Na Fianna,
Yeah.
the secondary school. If they're
Yeah,
not
yeah, I
going
know
there,
it, yeah.
they go to an awful lot of them are going to Belvedere. Like rugby.
Yeah.
Rugby would actually be is a sport that would be kind of snapping at our feet. Like we're losing
Yeah.
kids to rugby now, which we never
That's
never
right,
lost.
That's right. Yeah, but you know, in infrequent conversations at funerals or something with fellas, and I was surprised at the number of Vincent's fellas, real good Vincent's school fellas, whose sons were going to Belvedere and
Yeah.
places, and Eamon Boland, you know, one of our kind of coaches.
He was my first coach.
Yeah, went coach. He was coaching in Belvedere and all that, and I said to myself, I said, well, that's what time brings, you know, a change, you know.
Yeah.
But like we were fortunate insofar as certainly with basketball, that we instilled, whatever our methods and everything, we instilled a love of the game into these fellas.
Yeah.
And fellas left the club for different reasons or whatever, but they actually surfaced in other clubs
Yeah.
and kept going, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
You know, and like, that was all good in its own way, you know.
Yeah,
It spread the game.
Well, we'll have a look at some of these photos now. We'll look after that now in a minute.
Yeah.
Like these photos are classics. They're absolutely fantastic. Do you know who's in them pictures? Can you name?
Yes, that's a minor game between St. Vincent's and Corinthians, and the photographer was Dick Rowley, an evening press photographer who was also a founder member of Corinthians,
Okay.
and which explains the extraordinary quality of the photographs.
Yeah.
And in that photograph is Eamon Purcell from Corinthians,
Yeah.
Owen Ward from St. Vincent's,
Right.
and Ollie Hearns from St. Vincent's.
Okay.
Those three.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to number that number one, so we'll
Yeah,
know where we are then. Okay, that's number one.
yeah.
We're probably going to come across the same names, but it doesn't.
Seamus Donnelly, St. Vincent's.
Yeah.
I think that's Seamus Walsh from Corinthians. I might be wrong.
Okay.
I don't know. And that's Ollie Hearns
Again.
Yeah.
Right, and there's number three.
Same game.
Yeah.
Owen Ward, Ollie Hearns, Morris Bracken on the forefront, Michael Creevy on the right, and
That's Michael Creevy, who's the man I was talking.
yeah, Michael Creevy. Yeah.
I'll get that. Don't worry if they blow away.
Yeah.
We can pick them up.
Okay, just fix your mic.
Sure.
It's just getting a little blowy.
Okay.
That's me again,
All right.
not doing it properly.
He's coaching us all the time. Good man. All right. Yeah, we got those. Yeah.
Number four.
Number 13, Morris Bracken. Number 5, Eamon Purcell. Ollie Hearns, Owen Ward, same kind of guys.
Yeah.
Because it was the same game, you know.
Yeah. We'll go on to. This is that one.
That is a Dublin team. As in those days, there was an inter-county All-Ireland rather than a club All-Ireland.
Okay.
Inter-county, and that was the Dublin team, which would date back to say the mid-60s maybe, or that kind of
Okay.
time. And as I look at this, obviously the coach was Sean Tracy,
Yeah.
and the back line was Philip Flynn, St. Joseph's, Finian O'Sullivan, St. Joseph's, Clem Keys, St. Vincent's, and this was an American from New Mexico.
Okay.
Can't get his name. Doherty from the Army School of Music, Noel Nugent from Celtic, that's myself, Jack Kendrick,
Yeah.
and Michael Wimes.
Right.
Dublin team, Dublin
I'll
inter-county team.
mark that one number 5.
Yeah, Dublin inter-county team.
Yeah. Like there's a treasure trove of. Now I don't think that's.
Yeah, all the names are on that for you,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're all there, and that would be the Corinthians tournament.
I think they won the Corinthians tournament that year.
We did. We won 5 in a row.
5 and
Yeah, and
that's in the yard.
that's taken in the original schoolyard.
That's the old school, is it?
The old monastery building
Yeah.
that was demolished and everything, and that was, I'd say, very close to the occasion of us acquiring the new strip,
Okay.
and we wanted to get
Yeah.
a decent shot of it, see what it looked like and everything,
Which is
What-
red and white.
Red and white, yeah.
Not the yellow and blue. That
No,
would be known
no,
for
re-
now.
No, red and white, and Tom O'Hanlon, myself, Morris Bracken, and Ollie Hearns.
Very good.
That's it.
There's another. It's number 8.
Yeah,
So that's it.
that's from that famous minor game again.
Yeah. Just look.
And it's the same guys, Michael Creevy, Morris Bracken, Eamon Purcell, Ollie Hearns, and a shadow of Owen Ward in the background.
Yeah. I don't know if this is. I knew you were probably coaching at this stage. That would be a school team. There's a few faces I even recognise in that.
I'd say that was Owen McKeown, maybe.
Eddie Bowers is there.
Oh, yeah, I recognise some of them. Yeah, wait till I see now. Eddie there at the back. They're coming slowly. That's Colin Kelly. That's little fella. I remember him. Yeah. No, that's not something that I would have had personal. Like there was obviously another coach at that time. You know what I mean?
That's it.
That's a group photo, and I would say it is to do with the running of an under-18 tournament in Cork, the 4 countries,
Okay.
and that was obviously the Lord Mayor of Cork was brought in to for the occasion,
I think we're up to 10 now. That's that same photo. I think the Dublin team.
Yes, that's the Dublin team. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
And these are proofs. Did I marked that? Just make sure I marked that. 11. Right. 12. I should have done this all before, but you can take this out.
No. That's the tournament in Cork,
Okay.
the 4 countries,
Right.
under 18.
God, you all look like men there. You don't look like you're 17-year-olds.
Yeah. Owen Quinn was the team manager.
Yeah.
the coach, he was from Cork, I don't know his name, but Clem Keyes, Burke from Athlone, Charlie Hanlon from Tralee, and there would be a northern fella there, Doherty, Liam Mulligan, Finian O'Sullivan, and myself.
Yeah. Now, what year would you have been in school there?
The chances are I was, be 1960, yeah, because I made, like after 2 years, I made the international
Yeah, that's
team.
what I'm saying. Like starting in 5th year, and then you're
Yeah.
on an under 18
Yeah, we did. We had that. That was in Cork, 4 countries, and actually Ireland won it because on points difference or something.
Okay.
You know, because
You beat
it's something or every team lost one game or something, and the way it worked out, you know, that so like we actually won it, and half of the audience.
But things like that happen in Cork.
Oh yeah, half of the audience of that game were from Tralee,
Right.
because supporting Charlie O'Hanlon,
Right.
and there was, I think there's some other fella. It's just so long now. I can't picture the other. I can't name the other fellas, but I know that like they would have come from Tralee to that, you know, on bicycles or wherever way they could get there. You know what I mean? Like they would have be so enthusiastic, you know.
There's, I don't know again. You gave me these, so these are your photos.
Yeah.
So some of the ones of the schools I probably got off other people.
That's Dave Fitz and Clem Keyes contesting a rebound, and I say it's against Boroughmuir from Scotland.
And I'd say, that's probably the Roy Curtis tournament. Wouldn't that be right?
Yeah, it would, or our own tournament. You wouldn't know. You know, could be.
Because,
I don't reckon. It looks like Inchicore, doesn't it?
Is
With the
Inchicore,
windows,
Yeah, it is Inchicore.
Yeah.
What was I going to say to you? They're in the red uniforms as well. Now this one.
Yeah. That's from, that was played in, I think, Gurán na Brother in Cork.
Right.
And that's a famous Welsh player, Alan Williams.
Okay.
And he was so much bigger than everyone else, you know what I mean, at the time.
Yeah.
Like, kind of a like more a Negro type, you know what I mean. That's an international game in Cork, as far as I can, as far as I can.
I'd say this is 14. So this is I'd say that's the same game against Boroughmuir.
Yeah, tis. Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's funny. The fella I recognise in it is the Scottish fella Mel Capaldi, who's taking a layup, and I'd say that's Dave Fitz just trying to block him. I'm not sure now.
Dave Fitz would have been a lot younger, would he?
Well, Dave, you see, like, remember I said to you about having a trial game that I was asked to get a pick-up team to play the Dublin team before the Leinster Championship, and the likes of Dave Fitz and these were fellas that I'd have brought, only young fellas, you know what I mean. But like they were very competitive, and the only thing, the physique would be the only thing that'd be different, you know, for the tanking around the basket or something. But they could all play. You know what I mean? Like
Dave Fitz was.
Yeah, they could play. I mean, Dave Fitz as 14 or something, 13 and 14, and that, like, he would be a tail ender on our first team. You know what I mean? And there wouldn't be any hesitancy in having to bring him in or anything. You know what I mean? Like, all you'd be interested in is the physical. The physical difference between the guys he'd be playing against, hopping off bigger fellas. But he'd stay outside.
He'd just stay outside and shoot the ball.
He'd stay outside and he'd shoot, and he'd find a man with a pass and everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he just had that. He had that dimension to him. You know, that he was looking, and you know what I mean, like whatever turned up, the ball
Yeah.
was gone.
My first year playing basketball, Dave Fitz was still playing Super League. That was the first year we had Americans.
Yes. Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I remember the two. Yeah.
we had one of them got injured in the first game. Basically from the tip off, he got we had Brad Ludy. I remember he was a super player. He's still in contact with us on Facebook actually, and I know Mike Hamilton was the guy who replaced the guy, a white guy who was big but could shoot the ball, and he was a fantastic player. But I think the first rebound he went down over his ankle and broke his ankle, so we had to replace him right away.
Oh, gee,
You know?
Yeah, it's just to show you though the misfortune.
Yeah,
You know, like,
first
and he'd
game.
be trying to put a kind of decent program together and everything.
Yeah,
You know, and
yeah.
then to have
I think
and that kind of a setback was very difficult to rectify. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, like as an international dimension.
yeah, and
to it.
the guy we got in to replace him, Mike Hamilton, wasn't half the player. He was big.
Yeah.
He was a big inside player, but what we needed, from what I remember, we needed a guy that could
Yeah.
do a bit of both, play outside and go
Oh
inside.
yeah, he
you
had
know?
to contribute. There was a fella, the two I remember. I remember Kelvin, wasn't Kelvin?
Calvin Troy and
Yeah.
Kenny Perkins.
Yeah, that's right. There's the two I remember. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and I remember
They were our first year at Jamison.
when we had our our 50th, when I was walking in, here was Kelvin coming walking.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, no, I didn't really know him, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
because like I was detached from it all
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
stage. But I said to him, I says, this is the beginnings of a good pickup team.
yeah.
I said, when I meet you, I said, if I get one or two more now, we'll take on anyone in here. You know, that's the kind of thing with basketball. That's the kind of exchanges, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like that
yeah.
means something. Like,
Yeah.
and you hear them talking on TV, and these expressions come out, you know, a pickup team and whatever, you know, and all we need is another bit of height, and you know,
Yeah.
we'll talk to anyone, you know,
Yeah,
that kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
way, you know.
Well,
yeah.
Kenny's son, Kenny Perkins' son, ended up playing in the NBA. He played for the Boston Celtics and won a championship with Boston Celtics.
By God,
His name
yeah.
is Kendrick Perkins. He's
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
watch the basketball
yeah.
on TV, he does
Commentary.
commentary, and
Oh,
he
yeah,
does
yeah.
he analyzes the games on some of the American TV
Yeah,
stations.
yeah,
He's retired a couple of years now.
yeah.
But he won it with Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and
Oh, jeez, yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I remember that squad. But you see, I wouldn't be well versed enough to put, you know, to make
Yeah.
the. It's only someone to point that out to me. But I
Yeah.
mean, I'd be just so interested in the likes of that, you know,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that people who made good and whatever, and that
Yeah.
playing in Vincent's and going through what goes on there and whatever, you know, like that it was meaningful for
Yeah.
people.
Well, Ireland was ahead. I think Ireland was ahead of the curve when it came to Americans, because I think might have been one of the first countries in Europe that brought Americans over.
Yeah,
So what happened
Yeah.
was we were getting the best Americans that weren't making the NBA.
yeah, yeah.
But
There were,
then
yeah.
all the other European clubs.
Well, the restrictions, you know, although they always had one or two per team or something,
Yeah.
but like going back to the Americans, even pre-Americans, like we had John Prendergast,
Yeah.
who was you know, College of Surgeons. He was in College of Surgeons, but he the kind of enthusiasm that was in Vincent's
Yeah.
is what appealed to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now he was.
We were young and
Well, yeah, and you had Peter Creans and these, you
Yeah,
know,
great characters.
who'd give everything in a game. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they'd do anything to win. You know.
Peter was actually playing on that team. My first National League game, he was playing in that game,
Yeah.
and he was a superstar.
Oh, gee,
Him
yeah,
and
yeah,
Dave Fitz was
yeah, yeah,
super. I think Dave Fitz could have been player coach. I'm not too sure,
Yeah,
and Eamon
yeah.
might have been assistant coach,
yeah, yeah,
or maybe Eamon was coaching the team. I'm not too sure.
yeah.
So-
But they had John Prendergast. Now he was at Georgetown. You know.
Okay.
Category 1 in the States.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
a
yeah.
varsity player.
yeah.
And whatever it was, he just, like, going with College of Surgeons was a passing thing. There'd be a few fellas there and they were gone the next year, you know, they
Yeah,
were
yeah.
either going to be doctors or something,
yeah.
and you know, but he was there for a few years, and he eventually came with us, and he was really the first American of substance that actually was in the leagues.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then subsequently, Paddy O'Connor and the fellas in Killarney, they imported, you know.
Yeah, they brought
Yeah.
in the names. I can't think of the names, but I remember them. They were actually the year before we didn't have Americans. They were the first to bring Americans
They were,
in.
yeah, they were
And
the
then
first.
the following year we
yeah,
brought in
yeah,
Brad Ludi and
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't think of that name. Like
yeah.
And then the second lot of Americans, I don't know if you remember them, was Jeff Bullis and Kevin Greeny.
No, I missed
Jeff
it.
Bullis.
There was years of it that I missed
Yeah.
because, you know, for whatever reason I had lost touch in that, and also like the fellas, the likes of Dermot Burke and these fellas who were such long time
Yeah.
association with the thing and had it,
Yeah.
the interest of it at heart all the time.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
These are unsung heroes.
Oh yeah,
of
they
Irish
are.
basketball.
They are because they got into the spirit of the whole thing, and they never forgot it. You know, like their lives changed because of their involvement in
Dermot
basketball.
still comes to games.
Oh,
He missed it for a couple of years, but the last couple of years he's been back
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
back playing.
yeah,
So we just got back to the pictures.
yeah,
This is number 15.
yeah.
So that's another.
Well, that's myself is number 10,
Yeah.
and I don't recognise the opposition. I can't really see. I can only see a number 2, but it looks like a tournament game. You know,
Yeah.
it looks like a tournament game. I couldn't be sure who's in that.
Now, this is number 16, and I think you might tell me that is a foreign. That's somewhere foreign. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. And if I'm not recognise, I think that's one of the canals.
Yeah.
Um,
that's
and there's a Saint V there on
Yeah,
on that fella.
That's obviously a school game because it's yellow.
Yeah.
It's a yellow strip. The old Speedo gear, that looks like.
Do you recognise the Vincent guy?
No.
I'm just wondering. No.
See,
I'm just wondering if it was from
that
the.
mightn't have come from you, you know. 'Cause
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, it could have. It doesn't. It's not ringing any bells for me.
Yeah.
And the only thing that's in my mind is it's rather a ramshackle looking background.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I thought it might have been foreign.
Yeah. Well, you see, what was occurring to me, and I can't be sure. Like the Greek trip, we played. We played in Rome.
Yeah,
And we played in a schoolyard,
yeah.
and that's very like.
Well, tell me the story. You told me a story before about a trip. It was probably Greece and Rome, that you all bundled into a car or something.
Yeah. No, that's we got, through some strange thing or other, we were Irish schools champion. That was okay.
Yeah.
That was given. We were champions or something. But as champions, this tournament was on in Athens for our equivalent champions in other countries.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Like the World Student Games or something.
Something of that
Yeah.
order. And there was some fella was in that organisation and contacted us. Now he was on the Irish end of whatever organisation it was, and he contacted us and he said, asked us, would we be interested in travelling to Greece, to Athens for the tournament? And we said, well, there'd be a prohibitive cost and everything like that. But anyway, uh, being St. Vincent's, you had to test it out fully and see what would emerge with everything. But anyway, the cost was out of the question to fly. And then up comes the school minibus out in the yard. And then
Ford Transit or something.
that's right. You'd get a team into that, and you'd have to allow yourself 2 or 3 days to actually get to Greece by road. And anyway, it was decided to play. It was decided to go.
Right.
And the first mishap was the Irish Sea and its turbulent weather cost us a whole day. We were on the ship and we were in the port in Liverpool, and we couldn't get off because of the weather.
Right.
They had to wait for and we lost the whole day, which we couldn't afford, because the thing was tight enough. And we had to drive from Liverpool down to the south coast of England, across the Channel, and from the Channel we had to drive to Brindisi. Now, if you look at where Brindisi is across the water from Patras or somewhere in Greece, but it was a 36-hour drive, virtually non-stop. 2 drivers, Clem, Keys and myself, and the team. And that's meant when we got to Greece, we had already missed 2 of our scheduled games.
Right.
And they wouldn't refix them. They said, no, it's gone. It's tough luck, you should have been here,
Yeah.
So anyway, we got to play, I think we played we might have played 2 games. Anyway, we played games down there anyway. And then on our way back, again, torturous drive, and we called in to the Christian Brothers in Rome,
Right.
who were delighted to see Irish young fellas, and we had matches in the yard there, and they contacted some school there, and they brought us over
Okay.
and played a game, an actual competitive game outdoor in the yard,
Yeah.
and they also arranged for us, we got down to Palace des Sports Aur, which was a big stadium, I think was maybe built for the Olympics in 1960, but we got down to see a top European match,
Yeah.
Simmental and Ignis or something, 2 Italian teams with, very prominent players of the time
Right.
in it. So we got to see that, and that was the first time that an Irish team actually played in that youth tournament at all.
Yeah.
And then I think the following year, or somewhere later on, Dermot Burke and his crowd, I think they went to Israel or somewhere.
Yeah, that would have been actually Joey and Pat's
Yeah,
team.
that's right.
They went to Israel and done quite well.
Did well, yeah.
Pat got onto the All-Star team.
Yeah. No, they did well. I didn't. I wasn't. I was kind of detached then. I didn't.
Aidan King, Martin's brother, would have been on that team.
Yeah.
I think Shamey Orwell.
Yeah.
There was a lot of Big John Goyne, I think, was on that team.
Big John, yeah. No, they had they were kind of they were geared. Our hasty departure was all wrapped up in a couple of weeks or something. You know what I mean? Like from the time that the thing arose to whether you were going and everything. But like I think we were better organised with the later team that went to Israel. They had a more comfortable setup, and also, they had their own. They had good success over there. They were well up to what was
standard.
Yeah.
I think they might have come third.
Yeah, well, they were well up to it
I
anyway.
Could be wrong. Could be wrong.
Good, yeah.
Now here's another. This is number 17. So we'll go through these.
Oh, that's Leinster College's champions.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what that is.
That's outside the old school as well.
That would have
the
been
grounds.
in the grounds in front of the old monastery building, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Leinster Colleges, no doubt. All those.
Yeah. And this is number 18.
Yeah, tournament play again. Ollie Hearns, and I'd say that's Bill McGuinness, famous Scottish player. Looks like number 6 he used to play. I think I see number 6 on him there.
Yeah.
And the bystanders would be that's like very like Jerry Bourne from
Yeah, Fisbert.
yeah, that's
The
right.
shop.
It's very like him, yeah.
Yeah, I think it could be actually.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's a tournament game, and I'd say might be in O'Connell Hall that or something. I don't know. O'Connell School,
Yeah, that actually does look like O'Connell School.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, might be.
Yeah. Because I think we thought it might have been the other picture. We thought it might have been Inchicore,
Yeah.
but Inchicore hadn't got wooden bed. They had
No,
metal
that's
and wooden.
yeah, that's right. That's what I was looking at
Yeah,
myself.
Yeah.
I said to myself, there would be. It doesn't look like the seating from there, you know,
Yeah,
and the high windows.
Yeah.
You know, could be
It's
O'Connell.
a fantastic gym down there. It's old in O'Connell's.
Yeah,
Now we have a few Ireland pictures here now that we can go on to.
yeah,
Just spread it about a bit.
yeah.
So I think this is going to be number 19, and we have to mark them.
All right, good man. James Hobart, R.I.P. Oh, that's. I would say that could be. That could be a senior international team. You know,
Okay.
it could be. Myself and Tom Crowley, Paddy O'Connor, Dave Fitz, Ollie Hearns. Do you know? I think that's John Prendergast,
Right.
14. Ken McIntyre. Yeah, I think that's an Irish team. But I don't.
Well, I'd say it is because the crest is the Irish crest. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
And-
Yeah.
This is probably the same team again, is it? Is it the same picture? Maybe it is. That's the original picture.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the original.
that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I might recognise them. Yeah.
21. And that's 21.
Oh, definitely Leinster Colleges again.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're very swanky in your tracksuits there.
Yeah, we had got them. I don't know. Forget about where they came. We were a long time. We were always fond of nice gear,
Yeah.
but getting it was another job. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like even lettering and different stuff. You know, and yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that'd be Leinster Colleges,
Okay.
no doubt.
What number did you say?
Yeah,
That's
so you know.
21.
Yeah.
22.
You must have got that from somewhere else.
Okay.
Oh, there's Vinnie Hearns in the front and Clem Keys.
I'd say I got them from you if they're in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it just takes a bit of time to tumble. A Philip O'Flynn, you see, St. Joseph's.
Yeah.
Oh, you see, it's a St. Joseph's team.
Yeah.
It's not a Vincent's team.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Because
it.
you played for St.
Yeah, I
Joseph's.
did. Yeah, I did. You did. We won. Oh, yeah, I have them now. That's myself. That's Kevin Daly. Clem, Vinnie Hearns. That's Ollie's brother. Philip O'Flynn he was in St. Paul's. Eddie Scott. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, St. Joseph. We won the Dublin League and the Dublin Championship in 1962. We finished up in June 1962, and in September I joined Vincent's.
Very good.
I left.
You left.
I left with the championship. The championship won. Yeah, that was it. 62, and there would be much regret. You see, a young player
Yeah.
leaving the club, but years later, one of the great people that was in Nave Joseph was Harry Boland,
Right.
right? And Harry Boland played in the 1948 Olympics himself,
Okay.
and he always told us about that. And there was a function in the arena at one time where the past presidents of the Basketball Association, they were all entertained and seated together for, you know, some game or other. And I remember going over, and I went up to Harry Boland, and I said to him, oh, he says, we hated to see you leaving Nave Joseph, but he said, but look what happened out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, I said, it was nice of you to say that, you know.
Yeah,
I said, so we did basketball gained by the move, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
was what was in all our endeavours.
Yeah,
Was,
yeah.
There's one gone behind you there. The ball is, you let the ball fall there.
Okay.
Are you all right? Whatever it is. Now, it doesn't matter. Yeah, that was it, and he acknowledged that. He said,
That's great.
we were absolutely, you know, like the idea of you leaving us after, you know, coming through the minors, because like I had played minor. You see, you're talking about the inter-county arena there,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Now I had played minor and senior on the one day.
Okay.
You know, I wouldn't be a starter on the seniors,
Yeah.
but I was on the panel. You know, I was deemed good enough to be on the panel,
Right.
and I came in then on the senior team. And the main rivals used to be, well, Kilkenny were always difficult, and
Okay.
particularly if you were playing them in Kilkenny.
I
You
know.
know, there was local conditions and everything. It was a difficult place to.
Not a hotbed of basketball now.
No, but it was a difficult place to win. And also, then we had Westmeath, Mary's at Lone, they had got going, you know.
Yeah.
And then there'd be an odd spark in maybe Kildare, you know, because there'd be army fellas from the Curragh or something, you know. But it really was kind of a lame competition, you know what I mean, which is why it died out, you know what I mean. And it really, you always had Antrim coming from the north, and they'd have a nucleus of fellas from Belfast
Okay.
who, you know, they'd have a decent team, you know,
Yeah.
organised. And then you had Cork and Kerry, who were difficult to beat,
Yeah.
particularly down there, you
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
that kind of way. But like the inter-county was there alive and well, you know.
Yeah. So that's 23. I'd say, I wouldn't even say that's basketball. I'd say that's running or something.
Yeah. Although no, yeah. Ronnie Baird, Morris Bracken.
Would that be from Bracken's? Have they got a shop down?
No,
No.
Morris Bracken lived opposite me in Shandon Park.
Okay.
And Ronnie Baird was a son of a fantastic cyclist, Frank Baird,
Okay.
from the NCAA, you know, that way back era, you know, Frank. And Ronnie was, he was a super athlete, a runner, you know, a sprinter and everything, you know.
Yeah.
But again, basketball came and they came into it, you know what I mean? They
Yeah.
wanted to play. And I had a policy, I don't think I ever told a fella not to come.
Yeah.
You know, like even if he was useless or
Yeah.
anything, I never actually told him not to come. I let him decide if the going was such that he wasn't going to make it and he didn't want and let him drift off. I never sacked anyone. I never sent any, because I knew, like, there's a level for every kid, you know. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
he wants to play, and he can play at his own level. Now, if we don't provide the level, competitive wise, that he wants, you know, that's, you know, it's up to him then. Does he want to continue playing? But I never dumped a kid. No, I
Okay.
never, because, like, I got the feeling, you know, they got infected with the same enthusiasm as we did,
Yeah, yeah.
and to be told that they couldn't do it,
Right.
you know, I just wouldn't do it. I couldn't, you know, I
Yeah.
would never consider running a fella or anything, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
whatever about.
Yeah.
Ill discipline, which would crop up from time to time, you know, that was a different matter altogether, you know, where you had to kind of handle the situation or something. But for a young kid that come out for the under 14s, and he might be number 50 in the line or something, you know what I mean? And but I would never, like, they would drift off if
Yeah.
they wanted to, and if they wanted to hang around, well, we
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
keep something going for them,
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
What number is that? That's number 23. We're on
Yeah,
24.
I'd say that's a shield. I say that's athletics.
Yeah.
But you see, two of the basketballers were on it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
That's the difference. And Brother Burke said to me in 1960, when I left school in 1960, and Brother Burke rang me, and he said, listen, he said, we're at a crossroads now with basketball in the school. He said, we have, there's nobody. You know, Brendan Buckley was gone back to Tralee,
Yeah.
you know, to live.
Yeah.
He was gone. He says, you know, the good players, yourself and Vinnie Hearns and these, they're gone. He said, you know, so he says, like, we're at a crossroads. So, no, he's going to ask you, would you consider coming and in spare time and everything, and keep the program
And
going.
what year was this?
This would be 1960.
Okay.
1960.
So this was coming into your Gaelic football career then?
Yeah, it was, the two were landing at the one time.
Yeah.
At one time. In the 1960, I was a Dublin minor, and I was a minor in 61 as well, you know,
Okay.
a football minor. But anyway, he said, the most important thing is, he said, if we want to keep the program going, you know, someone has to do it and whatever support is needed from the school will be there.
Yeah,
He said, there's no doubt about that. There'll be, you know, they'll get fellas out and everything. It'll be just the technical thing, you know, to get them going. So I said, well, we'll see. I'll go down and we'll see what we can do and everything. But he said, most important to remember, he says, the best crop of talent is coming across from the primary school. He says, sprinters and all. He said, half of them, all you do is give them the ball, he said, and they'll be able to play.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? He said, really good athletic talent. He said, and there's a run of it coming.
And what players would have that been?
That would have been Shay Donnelly and Tom O'Hanlon and Ollie Hearns.
All great athletes.
What?
All great
Oh,
athletes.
that's all. He says, they're all coming. And he says, like, we need just to keep it going. He said, and then these fellas will be coming. And he said, you know, like, they're going to be able to play everything. They're that kind of people, you know.
Yeah,
he said,
yeah.
And they'll want to play because they'll get into it.
Yeah.
So he said, like, on that grounds alone, if we kept going now until these come, and then we're away, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I said, well, it would depend how things work out. We'll try it, but we got, so that was 1960, and by 1961 we had won the under 14.
Okay.
We had got going and had won it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you see, them under 14s went on up along. They were replaced by another crowd. And the next thing, there was basketballers, you know what I mean, at every age.
Yeah,
We were challenging, twice at least we challenged for the 3 Leinster Colleges titles. We only won 2 out of 3. But we
only won.
Yeah, we only won 2. We only won 2 out of 3 twice. But we were perennially there, and particularly when we got the senior, we must have won 5 or 6 seniors in a row. You know what I mean? Once we got there,
Yeah.
because we like these guys were coming all the time. You know what I mean? There was a gap, kind of a year, which was doubtful because Ollie Hearns and Shay Donnelly and them, they'd all left, and here was a valley period. You know, they weren't as good a crop, the next lot and everything. But I think Colm Leahy, you know,
Right.
Fiacre Leahy.
Yeah, Fiacre, yeah.
Colm was the senior captain that year, I remember. And I remember him saying, oh, he says, you know, if we got to win this year, he said, the thing wouldn't be broken, because he said, we're going to keep winning, you know,
Yeah.
judging by what's coming, you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah.
and they won it. We did. I remember we won it with him as captain, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This
So
is
that was the school. Like
and the school, when the club was formed then, did the school still stay on board and help you out? And
well, you see, of course they did, because like with things like cropped up like fundraising, I mean, you have to finance a club, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And there was periods where the club was in financial trouble and one thing or another, and the school would be there with oh, if you just want to organise a dance, or you want to organise a jumble sale, or something or other,
Yeah.
you know, like the school was there. But all the goodwill towards the game was always in the school. But then
Okay.
you see, you had Brother Burke and them there as the boss,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which meant that whatever you wanted from the school
Yeah.
was going to be coming, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
like they were a great. There was a great.
And he built the gym then, did he, Brother Burke, or was?
The gym came late for us. Well, for
Yeah,
me
yeah,
anyway. And
yeah.
it didn't.
I was in primary school when that was
Yeah,
built.
it came in the 70s, I think, and the past pupils union were there as well. You know, they were in on something to do with it. But I had done from 1962 to 1975. So then it was a changeover, and
Yeah.
I missed out on what happened
I think
after that.
I think Eamon Boland took over then. He
Oh,
seemed
yeah.
to be coaching a lot of teams
Yeah.
and
Well,
playing them at the same time.
yeah, well, Eamon, you see, Eamon he came, and again, he was one of these fellas that when he got into basketball, he got taken over by it, but coincidentally, he was an outstanding swimmer.
Right.
You see, and they got the pool, you know, in
Yeah.
the school, and Brother Burke says to me, he says, like, we're anxious to let it be known we have swimmers and everything, you know, we have this Eamon Boland, and he said he's a fantastic swimmer. He says he also loves basketball.
Yeah.
And I said to Brother Burke, I said we're in the position where we'd have to let Eamon decide, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
what way he goes. But I said, I'm telling you now, when they get hooked on basketball, they don't.
Well, basketball I think is one of the most addictive sports
That's right.
ever.
That's what I said to him. I said in those words, I said, like, if he opts, I'll give him the freedom to opt for whatever. He said he's valuable, I said, because he's in that hub down in Iona where there's loads of fellas, you know what I mean? And he's in with all them. And I said he wants to play basketball with them. And, you know, but
Yeah.
ultimately I said, I'm not going to tell him what to do
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. I said, you'll have to let him obviously decide himself, and maybe he can do the two. I said I was able to do 2 sports or 3 sports or whatever sport came up, you know.
This is number 24. This is another Irish team.
Yeah, I think that's an Irish team mixed in with some other team. I mean,
Okay.
that's a huge amount of players.
It could have
there.
been a Scottish team or something.
Yes,
just a
that's
jersey.
right. That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think. And I see a big fella there at the back that I recognise. Doherty was from the north.
Okay.
North, and Clem Keys is there. And yeah, I think it's either a visiting team. Yeah. I don't know what to okay. I see Mulligan there from the Curragh.
Okay.
He was an ex like he was in the military. He was in the Air Corps,
Okay.
And I remember him playing as a minor. He didn't play a lot as a senior or whatever, but anyway.
And who was the guy in the army that we spoke about earlier that his grandsons actually played for Vincent? He was a PE instructor in the army.
Jim Scully.
Jim Scully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Scully.
He has actually, with myself and Diane went to it.
Yeah.
They have a thing in the army now. It's the inter-army basketball tournament.
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
What you call the trophy is the Jim Scully trophy now.
Is it? Yeah.
We went down to the Curragh to watch the game actually.
Yeah. Jim Scully was in the ASM, the Army School of Music,
Right.
and he was a kind of, all his activity was in the gym. You know what I mean? They were either playing basketball in the gym or they were training or whatever, but he was all the time in the gym, and he was a kind of this army rallying force, like the loyalty and everything. They wouldn't let Jim Scully down, and you know what I mean, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he had made up that kind of thing for himself, and had earned it by right, by being there and putting in so much time,
Well, I met him. He brought the grandsons up to Vincent's, and he was delighted that we had the little saints going, and he was delighted to see the whole setup. And he came over to me, and he actually gave me a basketball book, and I was talking to him for a while. I love talking to people like that. I talk all day about basketball.
Well, we had very funny. There's a fella there in Noel Nugent. I remember Noel Nugent. Noel Nugent was playing when I started. He was playing with Dublin Celtic. Now Dublin Celtic had a way of getting the best players from everywhere. Whatever way they did it. But like Noel Nugent was in the ASM. He was in the School of Music.
Right.
And he took up basketball in the School of Music, and he was an outstanding player. Like he was, and he had a shot that you never see. He had a two-hand shot from there, and he put the ball up there, and like 3-point land was no trouble to him. You know what I mean? And of course, when people jumped up on him, then he went around. And he had the speed and everything. You know what I mean? Like he was impossible to mark. But Jim, Noel Nugent, he was in the ASM, and they used to play basketball all day and do some music as well. And he said we go out at night.
Yeah.
He said, and the basketballers and maybe one or two non-basketball fellas would go out, and they'd be drinking or whatever, and then one night anyway, one of the non-basketball players said, he says, I'm sick of this basketball talk. He said, I think we'll talk about something else, for a change or something like that, and said, oh yeah, we all agreed. He says, and the next thing there was 10 minutes silence, and they all went home.
There's nothing more. Else to
if you can't talk basketball, there's nothing else to talk about. And those were that's what that enthusiasm that I came across in the game. That infectiousness that was there, like when fellas discovered the game and the scope of the game and what it did for them and everything, but I remember Noel Nugent, God be good to him, telling me that he said we just all had to go home because there was nothing to talk about.
I know. So this is number 25 now we have, and I'd say that's Colborough Barracks.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 'cause you can see the yokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's Jack Kendrick.
Okay.
And that could be. It could be Vincent's against the Guards. I don't know. I don't recognise anyone else there, but that's definitely Jack Kendrick. I remember that poem.
Tell us the story about Jack Hendricks. What's Hendrick?
Jack Hendrick, when he came on, it was kind of a university thing to Ireland, do a year or UCD or
Erasmus
somewhere,
or whatever they called it.
Yeah, but he happened to be staying up on the South Circular Road in a house where one of the teachers from Vincent's was staying,
All right.
right?
Yeah.
And you like Jack with his personality and everything, you know, and talking and all the enthusiasm. But anyway, you were talking to this man, and this man said, by the way, he says, Jack, there's basketball in Vincent's in the school, you know. He says, would you, you know, do you want to just come in and have a look at them or say anything, you know? And Jack said, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. So at the time, I remember, I was off work at 4:15, and I used to ride the bike from town, and it would, you know, maybe 4:30, 20 to 5 or so when I get into Vincent's, you see.
Yeah.
I come in on the bike, you see, and I came in this evening on the bike into the yard, and of course the under 14s would all be waiting. They'd been playing around at the basket.
Yeah.
But when I came in the gate, I saw this. I said, "There's something going on at the basket," and I could see this fella, kind of a whirlwind fella, and showing moves and doing different things. You see, so that was Jack Kendrick. Arrived in, came up, tugged out, got in with the kids, showing them things and everything, and then it all took off from there. I mean, he was a lifelong friend of mine then after that, who went to every kind of thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
They're in a lot of photos together.
well, that's right. Yeah, like he was, a lot of his, like he'd spend time in Ireland, but he would also, like he'd go away for periods, you know, he'd be off, like he spent time in Sweden and he spent time in different things. I never knew really what he was, whether he was a teacher, whether he was a coach, how he kept himself going, you know, like he just kept going, and he'd ring me from somewhere or other, and I'd say, which country are you in, Jack? You know, are you coming this way or whatever, you know? And he was down here, he was in this house, you know.
Right.
He was in this house.
His family were probably wealthy, were they? They could afford for him to be
No, I don't know what this, I think, on reflection, I think he was either paid for by the US Secret Service or something. I mean, I remember Ollie Harns, you know, the policeman's mind.
Yeah.
And the policeman's mind was working on it. You know, no visible means of support. Seems to be able to go everywhere, and you know what I mean. A lot of things that didn't add up.
God, we had a
And
spy
he thought like he was either US sponsored
CIA
international ambassador or
Yeah,
whatever he was. Anyway, but he was down as far as Kenya and places like that. And I remember we had you see, he was a boxer, and he wrestled in the 1960 Olympics in Rome.
Well, wrestling would be a big college.
There'd be a program. There'd be a program for that.
Huge.
Yeah, the wrestling. Now he was in it in Rome anyway. At least he told us. I had never had any proof of it, but he told me he was anyway. But then he was boxing. He seemed to be more into, and he was a sparring partner for some of the pros, and you know, he had all kinds of angles of things going.
Yeah.
But he said he decided when he was down in Kenya that the welterweight champion of Kenya, he decided he'd fight him anyway, and he said the welterweight champion of Kenya was like a string bean, you know, tall.
Yeah.
And I figured out, I said, one in the gut and he's gone, you know.
Yeah.
So into the midriff. That was it. So that was one episode he was. The next thing, I said, you're in Sweden. Oh yeah, he said, I was up over the Arctic Circle there. I was in a place called Kiruna. He said, and they have the most unusual, I was working in the mine up there, you know, down underground. He says, and you know, we used to start work at 4 in the morning. That was the shift, you know, 4 in the morning. He said, and I was chipping coal off the ceiling and that kind of stuff.
He done manual labour.
Well,
he wasn't.
Did everything. He did everything, and as I said, like just keeping up with what he was doing. I really never had the full picture about him as to whether, you know, like his but I was in his home in Lake Placid, New York, in 1964, 1976, and 1988. And in 1988, his mother was just about to die, and she was 100,
Okay.
right? And he showed me around Lake Placid being a resort. It has kind of two seasons. It's a summer
Skiing.
resort, and then it's the winter.
You
know, all that
the Olympics there,
yeah,
this
all
the
that stuff,
Winter
yeah.
Olympics.
But like I went there, as I said, on those 3 occasions, and met his parents and all the rest, you know.
Right.
So that was it. So he was always in my life. Like, he
Yeah.
was liable to turn up,
Yeah.
you know, that
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of way.
Knock at the door.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe
yeah.
there. And did he marry?
He did. He married and he had a son. And Jack Hendricks spent a year as a coach in Glenstall Abbey, down in Limerick College.
Okay.
And would you believe, his son also did a year.
Okay.
And I remember leaving Jack down to Glenstall Abbey at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, and he was working the next morning, you know, starting his thing the next morning. And my mission was, we borrowed a car. I couldn't drive. I didn't know how to drive.
Right.
But I had to drive the car to Dublin. I had to bring it home the next day. And I remember coming into Dublin, I stopped somewhere out in the South Circular Road. I said I couldn't drive anymore in Dublin, you know, because like it's too skillful, you know. And I had to get the fella. It was an American friend of his that loaned him the car, and that was so I left him down there, got him to work there, and then I brought himself and his son down later to for his son to do a year there, you know.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So
Listen, I'm going to take a break for a minute, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just
we're
did
broken.
you get the juice from me? My mouth has got all dry.
Johnny Furlong. Now Johnny
I've heard the name.
Yeah, Johnny Furlong, his father was the governor of Mountjoy Jail, right? And he went to the school, played in the school with us and with the club. And he was a kind of a lay missioner. He turned out a lay missioner. He went to British Columbia,
Okay.
right? And he worked his way through whatever he did over there, and sports and one thing another. And but would you believe he ended up in 2010 that he was the man in charge of running the Olympic.
Yeah, I remember you telling me this before.
The Olympic,
In Canada.
In Vancouver,
Vancouver,
the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that before.
Yeah, the Winter Olympics. That's where he ended up. And as far as I
That's
know,
not you.
huh?
That's not you.
No,
No.
I got that vivid yellow.
Yeah. No, I'm just going to go through the ones that aren't you.
Yeah. So Johnny, as I said, Johnny Furlong's still around.
Okay.
He used to be in touch with me, but it faded away.
think we went through that. That's a repeat of another one, is it?
Yeah. That one is the Catholic Student Games.
Okay, we'll go through that. Give us that and I'll mark that one.
Oh yeah, look at, oh gosh, Mick Dugan, your man Hennessy, Brother Burke, he's in it.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
there. Oh, that's 1960. Catholic Students Games held in San Sebastian in Spain, and Brother Burke and I.
Is there anyone different in them pictures? And we won't go back into them if they're...
No, they're all the same crowd.
Okay.
That's that game. As I said, the one professional photographer we had. That's Jack in the garden.
We've gone through him,
Yeah.
so there's no...
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah.
That's the ageing athlete. We might get you to read that. You must have given me that.
I don't know. Oh, Jack Kendrick. Look, he's on it on the bottom.
Okay, we'll get you to read that maybe at the end.
At the end. Okay.
Read it now. Okay. Do you want-
Okay. The knees begin to make us mortal. The first wrinkle that jolts us into thinking that the egotistical body of youth, the fibres of steel, might be limited and dying even in their decay of camouflaged competition. But the death of the knees merely mocks the athlete's ego of illusions of permanency, as if all the past competitions were like Dorian Gray, and those two loyal lovers of cartilage and heart only leave us with memories of memories and dreams that pale, as the achievements often become lies as we remember them through the pubs of alcohol enhanced by smoke and ale. I had never read that. I was struggling to try to keep it together, see what it actually meant, you know.
It's recorded anyway. I'll change the microphone to
Okay.
the other side though. It's
Okay, yeah.
just blown there
Okay,
in the wind.
all right.
And stand a better chance.
I think we had that. So we're starting to...
They're starting to run out. Good man.
No, we're not. We have your books then.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to run out, that's for sure. 35. It's just making sure that we get all the... See, we won't be able to use that one because it's...
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know-
yeah. Oh, ditch, whatever they
Yeah.
want to. I'll have.
I don't think they're yours. I think they're actually Pádraig McLaughlin's.
Yeah, could be. Yeah,
Okay.
that's an Afena team, is it?
That's a Dublin team. I think, is it?
The Bub 63 team.
That's the team you won the All-Ireland with.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We played a match in the Ballymun Flats one time. You know, the 63 team. Gee, it was a great experience. We had never been in the flats before.
We'll leave that to last. Yeah. And then now, like Ballymun Kickham's would be one of the top teams in Ireland.
Oh,
That
yeah.
allowed them from the old flats.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
That's right, yeah, yeah. Well, they got established there, but then you know that Ballymun Kickham's was the other half of Nafina.
Yeah, there
A split in
Yeah.
1955, yeah.
Okay.
And 270 fellas from Kickham's opted to go with Nafina, the new club,
Okay.
right?
Oh, so Ballymun Kickers were there first.
No, Kickham's, just Kickham's.
Kims, right.
Kickham's, and Kickham's was a club where the drapery trade in Dublin, the fellas who came to Dublin, they joined
Oh,
Kickham's
yes.
if they were from the drapery trade. And, you know, that was the origin of it. But you see, there was some link up then between, they started a minor section which really would be Dublin based
Right.
people,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
miners
yeah,
living
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
And when all these miners came and were good, the others had to, you know, they couldn't make it. The others, Kickham's, the idea in the club for the Drapers was gone because it became a case of who's good or who can play and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And then that boiled over into the split.
Okay.
All right, that's how that split came. And the Na Fianna fellas who had come up through the minor ranks, including, you know, my brother and other fellas, they all opted for the new Na Fianna, you know.
Okay.
And then Kickham's was left in a kind of a isolation. But like it evolved then that they got in with Ballymun, with Ballymun or established an area team rather than a country.
And where would have Kickham's played?
Kickham's had no pitch, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And the only pitch the Fianna ever had was the Phoenix Park until they got Movie Road.
Road.
Yeah.
That was owned by the Department of Defence, was it?
Well, it was certainly government department stuff, but Na Fianna had men in the ranks that were able to conquer the department. And when it came to, it was either Home Farm got it or, well, I think now, subject to check, that it was either Home Farm got the Movie Road because they already had the adjoining one at the Department of Defence. You know that one? They already had that.
Yeah.
But in fact, Na Fianna won out in the political battle to get it, you know.
Right.
And they got it on a lease, and then more time later, it was permanent, you know, that kind of a way, you know. So they got it. They won it because they had the people in the places, you know. They had the people in the places, and then.
Well, Glasnevin would have been a kind of upper to middle class, wouldn't it, area?
Be a decent area.
Yeah.
It would be.
Yeah. Well, we go back into the pictures. We have number 26 here now. That's
myself and my good wife Muriel with the Roy Curtis Trophy in Portobello Barracks.
right.
Being presented just after being presented with it.
Very good.
And as I said, we won 5 Roy Curtises in a row.
Right.
That day, and then I certainly remember losing one. We lost in the final to a team from Exeter University,
Okay.
who had great ambitions for their college game in the UK. You know, like they were a university team.
Okay.
And they came and they won. And we had, at that time, we had. Dave Fitz had been in England.
Yeah,
he had been with
Oland.
Sutton, SCP, Sutton Crystal Palace. He had me there anyway, and for that tournament, he brought over 2 players, 2 Americans,
Right.
to supplement our team for the Roy Curtis.
Right.
And the 2 Americans, of course, being imported, had to have an awful lot of playing time,
Yeah.
which was great. But
It diluted the
Exeter
team.
had too many men. They had too good a bench,
Yeah.
and they outlasted us. But we were beaten in the final.
Right.
And the 2 fellas, I can remember the fella Jimmy. Jimmy Rogers. No, not Jimmy Rogers. But anyway, there was a lad, American, and he played with all. I was coach. I wasn't playing. I was coach, and we played in the Roy Curtis up in Colbrua, and this fella, anyway, these 2 Americans. But on the Tuesday, they went back then to England. On the Tuesday, I got a personal letter from Jimmy to say that he said he was a college player in the States and everything, and he went through, he says, I'll have to tell you, he says, I have never played for anyone that knew the game so well. He says, I could not believe your knowledge of the game, and he said, and your handling of people and all that. He said, he says, I have been through that circuit in America. And in fact, I found that, I have that letter somewhere.
Okay.
I remember finding it. Now, I didn't pay much attention to it at the time, but now when you read it,
Yeah.
like, he got infected by the Vincent spirit when he was here.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Only for the weekend,
Yeah.
because the fellas were good on and off the floor. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They were just good people, and like their idea was to win and win and win and win. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and everything. But he took the time. He took the time to do that.
Brilliant.
You know what I mean? To show
Yeah.
that he appreciated being brought over, and he appreciated. Now he wasn't brought over on the payroll or anything. He just came himself to
Yeah,
play as
yeah,
a
yeah,
fella who
yeah.
likes to play.
Bit of pickup game.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the weekend. But
Yeah.
like they were fatigued. Like they could hardly stand up
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the final, because like the idea of bringing them over, you had to play them. So like they got a lot of playing time.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you mixed in. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I remember Dave playing. Dave was playing certainly, and there's the other lad. Jimmy was a kind of a guard type player. I remember he's 6'2" or 3", that kind of fella, but very good. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Great hands.
And what year was this?
This would be probably 76 or
Okay.
75 or something
Right.
like that. I know I wasn't playing. I was just coaching. You know.
Okay.
And Dave was Dave, I think, and said that he could get them to come, you know,
Yeah.
because the idea then was getting going that for the tournaments, which was the main play of the time, for the tournaments you could have a guest player or two,
Yeah, yeah.
and no one would
Yeah, yeah.
ask too many questions. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
In a way,
Happy
it
days.
was, yeah, it was that. But it was great. Like I couldn't believe when I just in recent years when I read that letter. I said,
Yeah.
that's amazing now that passed me by at the time. You know what I mean? He just said, fellow was glad to get over for a few hoops.
This is a Garda team. This is number 27 I have.
Yeah. They were the Dublin champions in 1964. And on the same day, we were the Dublin junior champions.
Oh, brilliant.
That's right. Same day. And I remember the American fella coming there to me, you know, that it was an American, Big Bob Collins, and he says, I'm going back to America now, he says, and I can tell you one thing, you're the coming team in this country. That's what he said, yeah, yeah.
Number 28, and that's it.
Yeah, it's myself in the jump ball, and it's some kind of international do.
But that being the barracks as well, that
Yeah,
looked.
I'd say it's the barracks. Yeah, I'd say it is. Yeah. No, it's not ringing. It's not ringing.
When
I know I can recognise Jack, and I can recognise myself.
Yeah.
So, no.
Do you know where it reminds me of? Port Ran. Remember the place in Port Ran?
Yeah. We used to say you could score a layup in Port Ran and get a cup of tea after it because you were running into the wall or the kitchen or something, you know.
I have a great story about Port Ran. I'll tell you when we're off camera.
Yeah, and the same was at St. Luke's in Kilkenny. I don't know if he ever played down there. St. Luke's, and we were playing in the dining room, and you know the game was over. They put the tables back out.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
had their tea.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd say that's the championship there were the seniors and you.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, that's the two. That's the two. That's the
number
Garda.
29.
Yeah, that'd be 1964.
1964.
Yeah. And this team here was the senior champions the following year.
What's that number? Is that number 20? It's number 29.
Okay,
So we're on to 30 now. We're flying.
that's good. Yeah.
This is a school team.
School team.
Yeah. See, I don't look on the school team and the club team as any different because when I played, you were wearing the same uniform for both, so it didn't matter. You went to the game, you didn't know if it was going to be a school game or a club game. It was just you played basketball.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Jerry Cullen there's a fellow we never traced for the centenary. You know, like he was a real good club man. You know what I mean? Very good.
Oh, well, we have the 60th coming up.
And and he was Jerry was I think he was a graded ref too. You know,
Yeah.
like he got to maybe to grade 1. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I was surprised. I missed. There's Johnny Furlong. There
Right.
he is, the fellow I was telling you about, that ended up running the Winter Olympics. Yeah.
I remember you telling me about him before.
Yeah, Johnny Furlong. Yeah, well, that's him there. He's in that team.
Okay.
And Frank Reynolds deserted. Kevin Bourne.
Where did he desert to another club?
He did, yeah. I think he went to Marion.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, a route nobody could go from Vincent's, you know what I mean, to join Marion. But anyway, and he was a teacher, and he was a teacher to Manor House, you know, the girls.
Okay.
Out there. And then he ended up out in the Middle East teaching English.
Okay.
Frank Reynolds played for Nafina, star player for Nafina, and beside him is Kevin Bourne, who is married to Pauline Fitzsimons, Dave's sister,
Okay.
and he's Dr. Kevin.
Yeah, he's still involved with basketball.
And he's involved with Gaelic down in Wexford,
Yeah.
in Woolart de Ballard or something.
Yeah.
He's down there anyway, and he'd be retired now.
Yeah, he was a doctor to the international teams, I think.
He was,
Yeah.
And he was a doctor to the Wexford senior football team.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was talking to him in Croke Park. We played them in Croke Park there maybe 10 years ago, and I went down to him and he was amazed. I said, it's not always I come early, I said, to see Wexford playing football, but I said, I actually came in the hope that you'd be there, and I'd say hello to you.
Yeah,
You know?
right.
And he said, so he was delighted, yeah. Kevin Bourne. Yeah, I said, that Jerry Cullen, he used to live in Glengariff, you know, behind Mount Joy Jail, down that court.
The lanes, they were the prison warden houses, were they?
Well, I don't know. These wouldn't have been, but they were in the neighbourhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Glengariff Parade, because the Clarkins out in Nafina, they all came from down there too. You know,
Yeah.
Noel Clarkin and Sean, he's dead, and different
Well,
fellas.
there's a lad I played football with in school, Pádraig Clarkin, and his son played on Joey's underage team as well. He's given it up. He's a really good Gaelic footballer.
Oh, right,
They live there on Botanic Road.
Yeah,
He's a school teacher. Pádraig is a school teacher.
yeah. Well, that team doesn't seem to have a trophy, so I don't know. It was probably just the year, you know.
Yeah,
but
I'd say that might have been for the year, but
Yeah, something
know?
like that. Yeah, something like that.
so that's number 30.
Yeah.
And this is a cut off of a picture. It's 31.
Yeah. Well, that'd be the championship team, 1961. The under 14s.
Okay.
That's them. Yeah. 2 and 3. There were obviously something done with the rest of that.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
But I remember those. There was a panel of about 8 of them.
This is. I think that's Peter Crean. There is it.
Yeah. It's after my time.
Yeah.
It's after my time. I don't recognise number 5.
No, I don't recognise him either.
Yeah. He's
But that's definitely Peter Crean.
Yeah. No, he's after my time.
That's 32.
Yeah.
I'd say this is. I see one of the greys in the photo. That's number 32, 33. That Kieran Gray there was one of them. That's probably after your time as well.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. I think Jerry Caffrey there at the back maybe, and no, that lad. He's a current fella. He was around.
Let's see.
You know him.
That's
Eddie.
Eddie
Yeah,
Bowers, yeah.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I didn't. Kieran Gray. No, I definitely didn't coach any of them.
Yeah, I think that looks like one of the greys there.
Kieran, number 5.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. No. And then there's an O'Leary or something small. No, that's not my crowd.
See, the photo's got.
You got a few from somewhere else.
Yeah. Oh, anyone offers me photos, I take them.
Yeah. Catholic students' games. Irish team and mentors, including Brother Burke, and I would say 1970 or 71.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that
That was held, the opening ceremony was held in Gormanstown College.
Yeah.
The basketball was held in O'Connell Schools. The athletics was held in Ivy Grounds. And there was tennis, I think, as well. I didn't see any of that. I don't know where that was held,
Yeah.
you know. But they had it was over a number of sports, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where would that picture have been taken? Would you remember?
That could be outside of. It's most likely. There was a photo taken at Gormanstown College, but I'm inclined to think that was 1960 because I see Nick McCormick he was from Belfast, Malachy's.
Okay.
Malachy's. That's Dugan was from Bolton Street Tech.
Okay. Where I went to?
Hennessy was the president or whatever, you know. Vinnie Hearns, McAllister. Oh yeah, that was definitely 1960 team that went to San Sebastian.
Okay. And I'm just looking at all the lads from Vincent's would have had the Vincent's crest on them,
Yeah.
which is
That one.
this crest.
Yeah.
You know.
That Brother Burke would be proud of that because I think he designed that. Or I think he certainly. Yeah. There's Donal O'Farrell, sprinter, 200 metre sprinter. I remember all these. And like some of these now, there'd be only a certain amount of basketballers. Like there'd be athletes. These
Okay.
fellas. Yeah,
All
there'd
right.
be athletics or
Okay.
other sports.
So that was just the Irish team, was it?
Yeah. That was the Irish team that travelled to San Sebastian in 1960
Very good.
for the students' games.
This is number 35.
And that was taken in Spain, in Madrid, for probably the 72 student games.
Okay.
Because that team, we had 4, I think, on that team. And that's on the courts, you know, I remember the courts.
How many players are on that team?
4 and 3, so there's 8 there.
So
We had 4.
4.
4, yeah. John Goss and Jerry Guyan and Peter
Yeah.
and Dermot Burke.
Right.
We had 4 in that team, which I picked. I picked that team.
That's how we had 4.
I held trials.
You shouldn't have said that.
I held trials down in Marion College,
Right.
open air. Anyone who wanted to play in the country wanted to compete for a place on the team.
Right.
And we had the trials in Marion, and I picked the team.
Very good.
All right, and that was in Madrid. Now, funny enough, that's just a thing I remember about that in Madrid. But Spain had a fella playing for them in that tournament, Cordoban, right?
Yeah.
See, remember his names. And would you believe, now that was 1972, would you believe, later in the year, he was a tail ender on the Spanish Olympic team.
Right.
So he played in that tournament
And then played at
and then went to the senior Olympics.
Olympics.
He's only 18. You know?
Unbelievable.
Cordoban, yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, we're going into some of the senior stuff here now. Like this is the famous international club tournament
Yeah,
that Vincent's used to hold. And
yeah. Oblate Hall in Chicore, 76, yeah, that's right. Well, you see, you'll notice it's called the St. Vincent. That was probably the first of them, maybe.
Yeah.
And then we got Glen Abbey
Yeah.
sponsorship, you know. So we ran tournaments for maybe 5 or 6 years.
Right.
We finished up in 74, 75
Yeah.
in New Park, which was called the New Park Classic.
Okay.
And the New
That
Park
was on
Classic.
the south side.
Oh yeah, down in Black Rock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
well,
I
do you
played.
see, Johnny Furlong was in charge of the gym down there.
Okay,
So-
that's where we played. We used to play all our underage games, club games out there on a Friday evening.
Yeah.
They block booked. We had our own gym, but we used to play a lot of games out there
Yeah.
against other clubs that hadn't got a gym.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And we're only talking, myself and Martin were only talking, we would have been under 15 maybe, or under 17. Like we would have been 15, 16 going out there, and we used to play the game, and then you were given a list, and on the list it told you Martin King, Gary Rooney are doing table duty after that game
Yeah. On the next game.
for
yeah.
the next game.
Yeah.
So the team didn't hang around, or the coaches didn't
Yeah.
hang around.
Yeah.
They went off home.
That's right.
And you were there
Yeah.
at 15 or 16
Yeah.
doing the game, and then you had to get the bus all the way home from Blackrock
Yeah.
to Glasnevin.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I couldn't see me letting
Yeah.
the son do that now. I wouldn't let,
No.
you know.
Well, you see, it's like I can take a step back from that. I remember playing in Kilkenny in it was called the All Ireland Inter-Club competition or something, but basically it was for the best teams in Ireland and whatever. I was in Kilkenny, and we went down with a Cinderella, a young team, you know, just an upcoming team, and what would happen there is, you know, you play your game or everything, and the next thing a fellow come over to, and he put 2 whistles on the table beside us, and he say, "No, you're doing the next game."
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? That's the way it was done. It was a kind of a cooperation thing,
Yeah.
you know, to get the thing ran.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as, oh, your grade 1 refs or any of that. Just a ref. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was it. So that was the kind of thing, and they had like, in order to get these weekend events run, you see, every team had to do more than play. You know,
Yeah.
like they had to,
Yeah.
and they might have to do the table, or they might have to, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It'd be
yeah.
a good bit of thing, but it'd be all in the cooperative spirit of actually getting. Wait, no, she's gone with your
Yeah.
badge.
It's okay.
You know, just in getting your actual game tournament finished. You
Yeah.
know? That's Corinthians.
Yeah,
Player,
that's
players number 6. Yeah. Be fellas there, you'd know on that. Was that
Yeah. Just
Creevy?
looking at this Creevy, that's Creevy there.
Creevy,
From,
yeah. There was 2 Creevies. There was Dennis and Michael. Michael was a better player, and Dennis tended to be an organiser, or you know
Yeah.
what I mean, a administrative fella.
Dennis lives in Glasnevin.
Did he?
Yeah, son
Yeah.
played for Vincent.
Yeah.
Now there's like, that was this is the 1974. There's a team from Iceland.
Yep.
Then we have Corinthians.
Yeah.
Then we have
Boroughmuir.
Boroughmuir. Blue Demons.
Cork. Yeah.
Pictures. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Pictures.
Yeah.
Wilson Pant. They're obviously American, are they?
Wilson Panthers. I don't remember them.
Yeah. No, they're English.
English. Oh, say it'd be English. Yeah. There would be very few. See,
That's Colester.
Colester, Dublin. You'd see Martin Grenell and these,
There's a
and
Scottish team.
Pentland. Yeah, I remember them. Scottish. Yeah.
We're not in it. In 74.
We mightn't have been in that
Yeah,
tournament.
that's what I'm saying. We're not in it.
Yeah. Is there fixtures in it?
Uh,
You see, Corinthians wouldn't be breaking their backs to have us in it after
Right.
winning theirs
yeah.
5 in a row.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the fixtures of my teams there?
They're just the table officials and the referees.
Oh, gee, a whole page of them.
Yeah,
and instead of the 2 whistles, you had all that.
yeah.
Yeah. No, we mightn't have been in that,
Yeah.
you know.
I think Pádraig McLaughlin gave me this program.
Yeah.
He obviously went out to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Oh.
Okay.
We're not in that.
Now this one here I'm really interested in.
No.
This is in 1964.
That's right. Madison
The
Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden. The New York Knickerbockers against the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes. Now, playing for the Los Angeles Lakers that night was Elgin Baylor,
Yeah.
Jerry he's
Stackhouses, Derry.
no Jerry. He ended up in the Lakers, a really big time fella, and then an administrator and everything. Jerry from Kentucky. Well, let's see now, Jerry
West.
Jerry West.
Yeah.
That's it. Now
Jerry West.
Jerry West. I'll tell you a little story about Jerry West. We were in the same hotel. That's Dublin footballers. We're in the
Okay.
same hotel as the Lakers.
Okay.
And the Lakers were playing up the road in Madison Square Garden. And I was coming down in the lift. And the lift stopped. And in gets Jerry West. And I said, I'm Bill Casey from Ireland. I said, and you're Jerry West.
Yeah.
I said, I'm getting going on basketball and everything. Oh, yeah, he says, you're the guys with the blazers and things, yeah. He says, you were down around the hall and everything. Yeah, that's right. I said, yeah. And he said, well, what are you do? Are you playing someone? And I said, oh, no, I said, we're a football team. I said, we're playing New York football. And he said, is that soccer?
Yeah.
And I said, no, this is Gaelic football, Irish football, you know. And he says, it was kind of a silence, then he says, I thought you were kind of small for a football team. All the fellas, you know, big guys, they were only, compared to the American footballers, the real football.
But Jerry West is the sign of the NBA, isn't it? It's his picture to use for the NBA.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he was only coming, he was the first fella scored from the halfway line in Madison Square Garden.
And whose autographs have you got there? I can't. Can you?
Yeah. Not good on just the glasses, you know.
Yeah. I can't make out the writing.
Another fellow was there, Darragh Limoff. Is he there or not? There he is, see, Darragh Limoff.
Yeah.
And Bob Collins, who played in Ireland, you know, to 64. He was playing that year in Ireland. He says, Darragh Limoff, he says, is stuffed. He shouldn't be on the Lakers team. And I met him in the hall. Darragh, he's, you know what I mean? The kind of height and everything.
Yeah.
There's Jerry West.
Yeah.
See him? You get your man there, Jerry Froat, whatever. Okay. I suppose it was a case of who I could get to.
Yeah.
Don Nelson and Barnett.
Don Nelson was a coach as well then.
Yeah, it could have been him, yeah. Look at Darragh Limoff. There he is. I couldn't tell him. The fellow in Ireland says you were stuffed. You know? Yeah, no, I remember going down, as I said, famous autographs centre page. I put that on it.
Yeah.
Because I said if you're showing it to Joey or something.
Well, do you know something? I only noticed that on it yesterday.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was it. I said, because they'll miss it. They won't know.
Yeah.
You know, anyone getting it will say, oh, yeah, that's the teams and all the rest.
Yeah.
But I put that note on it so that the real value of it, of course, would be the autographs of the players.
Jerry West's autograph alone.
Jerry West. Honest to God, after a conversation.
And I have that in my house.
Yeah, and I remember these fellas play. I remember that game. I remember Willis Reed was there, and Johnny Egan, he was from Providence, and he was in backcourt, and he was down the floor like a light, you know, that kind of way, constant
diving on the ball,
going, constant going, and Howie Comives, another fella, a guard, you know, and like these fellas, the likes of Willis Reed and them, they were kind of on their way at that time, you know what I mean? And I think Willis Reed played up until, he was the mainstay up to 62 or up to 72, and they won the World Championship, they won the NBA, and I think he played a game with a broken leg or something, you know, like just tied together. And because he was so inspirational, the fact that he was actually standing up on the court made the others play, you know, that kind of way, you know. There was certainly was some story about that. Now, on that trip as well, I saw the Boston Celtics played in
Right.
New York.
That's my team.
The famous Boston Celtics. And the
Cousy.
only fella, no, Cousy was the only one missing because he had retired in May after the NBA.
Okay.
And this was in October. It was the new season. And he was gone. But Bill Russell and the Joneses and all that.
Casey
you know,
Jones.
yeah, all those, they were all there. Saw all
Yeah.
them playing. And I don't know whether there was a fella, Loskutov, and his nickname was Jungle Jim. Jungle Jim was for clearing space around the basket, you know,
Right.
Jungle Jim, so that the good players could score and everything. Yeah. That kind of guy, Jungle Jim. And when I was over there, I met a man, a coach. He was with that Southbridge crowd, and Cousy was on the way up, coming through the ranks, you
Right.
know, coming up through college and everything.
Yeah.
And this fella was the same age.
Okay.
And he says, we used to meet Cousy and the boys and we'd have $5 on the game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he said when it had come to the crunch to decide it, he said, Cousy would always end up with a broken nose or something, you know,
Yeah.
because he was doing all the scoring, you know.
Yeah.
So he said we'd get Jungle Jim at him, you know.
Yeah.
So it was so interesting, you know, because it brought you to, like, the reality of this is the way the game was.
Yeah.
You know, the fellas would have these afternoon games on a Saturday or a Sunday, and anyone could turn up and they'd make up teams, and you know what I mean. Like, it was just amazing to get an insight into it, that some of those fellas who subsequently became renowned players in the NBA, that like they came through these beginnings, you know.
Yeah.
And then they had a thing in New York too. The fella told me about that. The New York Knicks, as a publicity thing, would go down to the districts, and they'd play in the summer, and they'd play outdoor
Okay.
against locals.
Yeah. Well,
He says-
Rutgers Park used to be.
And he said, and they lost 2 games.
Yeah.
You know, the other guys were so good. You know, the ordinary fellas were so good in their own courts and everything.
What does it?
And you know, their opportunity, they didn't get to make the jump into the, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the
But they
NBA.
were super players.
Yeah,
He
well,
said, like
there's-
these street players.
Well, there's a great documentary on Netflix called Rutgers,
Yeah.
and it's absolutely fantastic. These guys have never played.
That's right. They never got
played
into
NBA.
prominent teams or
Yeah.
anything, but it was so amazing. He said, like, how good they were.
Yeah.
He said, like
Yeah.
these guys were only, you couldn't tell the difference between the
A lot,
pros
a lot of them were street guys.
But that's
you know,
right.
they were
And
they were just.
played for money.
Yeah,
and they made out on
yeah,
it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Because of their skill, they would challenge. It'd be like the fellas in the snooker halls who
Yeah.
could play. They'd let the guy win 2 or 3 games, and then
Yeah.
you know what I mean, that
Exactly,
kind
yeah,
of stuff.
yeah.
And this was something the same in the, you know, in the streets,
Yeah.
where but like they were the amount of players, you know, like
And
that
they were
never
doing.
made any team.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
were doing trash talk before trash talk was even a thing.
That's it.
You know?
Oh, gee, yeah, like
And,
the whole thing. But like we were so fortunate that those guys were in. This was kind of October. It'd be pre-season, you know.
Yeah.
There'd be pre-season games. Now it was in the old Madison Square Garden,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
was kind of creaking a bit at the time.
Yeah.
But because it was pre-season, they didn't have the crowds,
Yeah.
so you could actually get quite
Right down, yeah.
quite near the
Right,
players,
yeah.
quite near the
Yeah.
players. You know.
And that Dublin team that you were in the hotel with. Who would have been on that?
Who would have been on that? You would have, you could, Pascal Flynn from Mary Saggart was in goal, Leo Hickey right full, Lar Foley Vincent's full back, left full myself, right half Mick Cassan Vincent's, Des McCain, centre half Paddy Holden Clanagale, left half Mick Cassan St Vincent, centre field Des Foley Vincent's, John Timmins, Sean McDermott's, right half forward Brian McDonald Sing Street, centre half forward Mickey Whelan Clanagale, left half forward Jerry Davy, Clonagale, right corner forward, Simon Bean, Vincent's, full forward, Des Ferguson, St. Vincent's, left corner, Noel Fox, St. Vincent's.
Mickey Whelan, he was my PE teacher in Bolton Street.
That's right, say he was, he was
Yeah.
well qualified, he was well
Yeah.
qualified.
He loved basketball.
Oh, he did. He didn't. I never remember him playing it.
Yeah.
And he'd talk about golf, but he never really got into golf. You know,
Yeah,
the
I
kind
saw-
of way. But PE. Now, Mickey Whelan was on that trip to New York, and he was very fortunate insofar as John Kerry O'Donnell, who was Mr. GAA in New York, you know, a Kerry
Yeah.
man. He took a liking to Mickey Whelan.
He's a very likeable man.
Yeah. Now he took a liking to Mickey Whelan, and Mickey Whelan wanted to do PE,
Yeah.
and John Kerry O'Donnell fixed him up with part-time work, like as a security
Yeah,
guard or
barman.
as anything or other,
Yeah.
to earn the money to put him through college. And Mickey went to West Virginia, right,
Okay.
where Jerry West was,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But Jerry West was gone. He was a
Yeah.
but Mickey told me, said, like, all the talk down there was Jerry West,
Yeah.
who had gone through the school. Now Mickey wouldn't have been there till 1965 or whatever, you know. But Jerry West would have come through in '63 or whatever,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, Mickey went back to college
Yeah.
recently, like within
Did
the
he?
last 10 years.
Yeah.
He went back. He was in DCU doing a course,
Yeah.
and I used to see him up there a lot.
Yeah.
And he always came over and said hello. He remembered, like, I was 18 when I was
Yeah, isn't
Bolton
that
Street,
amazing? Yeah.
and he used to
yeah.
always come out. How's the basketball? He'd always talk
yeah.
about the basketball.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, we
yeah.
always have fun when I meet Mickey Whelan, because I can remember in '63, you know, when we were on the campaign, like these were knockout games, you know. So we had won the first round, and we used to end up in a hotel in Portmarnock for your dinner or something, you know. And Mickey Whelan and I always went out onto the beach, and we went walking down. And I remember him saying, you know, he says like we're going well, you know. He says, do you realise if we win the next game we're in the Leinster final? You know, I remember him saying that to me, you know, getting me focused and everything, you know.
Yeah.
And he said, and who knows after that, you know.
But he's younger than you or older than you?
Older than me.
Yeah.
A year or two.
Okay.
Maybe two, yeah.
Right.
I think he might have been a 59 minor. I was a minor 61, you know.
Okay. Right.
But and I remember that as well. And the next thing, we were in the Leinster final and we won it. And he says, "Now look where we are," you know.
Yeah.
And as I said, we used to kind of team up after the games.
Yeah.
And just kind of assess
Have a chat.
where we were
Yeah.
and everything, you know, and what had happened.
Yeah.
And I remember we used to go out to Finglas. The Dublin team always played in Finglas in the month of August, and it was the John Player tournament or something.
Okay.
And we'd play either Carlow or we'd play someone or other. But I remember being out there in '63, and Des Foley, and Des was our captain, you know what I mean? And I remember Des saying at that Vincent de Paul, or at that players tournament, saying, "Now lads, think Sam, he says, it's on the cards, he says, keep going, you know, and all. That was his kind of team talk or whatever,
Right.
you know what I mean? And a week later we won the All-Ireland semi-final against Down, against all the odds,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Beat them well, and we were in the All-Ireland final. But I do just remember, you get flashbacks to those, you know. But I
Yeah.
remember Des saying that. He said, "Now lads, this is the John Player tournament," but he said, "Think Sam."
Yeah.
He says, "This is on the way to Sam," you know.
Yeah.
He says, "and Sam is going to be coming up, and this could be it." And you know what I mean? He was kind of getting it into people's heads that
Yeah.
it could happen.
Yeah.
You know, that it could
Yeah.
happen, you know. And another thing I remember about Des Foley, in 1959, Des Foley academically maybe wasn't brilliant, but he went back to do his leaving for the second time in Joey's.
Right.
He was 19.
Okay.
You see? And he was after playing in 2 Railway Cup finals, you know, hurling and football
Right.
at 18 or something. But he went back to Joey's, and of course here was a colossus
Yeah.
among the students. You know what I
Students.
mean?
A hero.
And in the Christian Brothers schools, they kind of had a notion, it's now or never for the All-Ireland, for the Hogan Cup with Des Foley.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Joey's should be contenders, you know, with Des Foley
Yeah.
and that and win. And contrary to, you know, the way there'd be awful rivalry between schools,
Yeah.
but all the Christian Brothers schools were on the same, you know, they wanted Joey's to win it.
Right.
You know what I mean? For the sake of the Christian Brothers or whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, but one of the first things was when we went back to school and in September, and the first thing that was arranged was a match in our pitch against
Always.
Joey's. And up comes Des Foley and them all. Now I was probably 15 or maybe 16. You know, I wasn't really even a senior in
Yeah.
the school, you know, at the time.
Yeah.
And but anyway, I was playing right half back, and Des was in midfield, you know, like a colossus there. And I remember as well at half time, he came over to me and he says, "What's your name?" So I gave him, and he says, "I see you doing some nice things out there on the wing, you know." Now he says, "That's your spot, you play there, you know." And I come in, that was like he went out of his way just to say hello to me and
Yeah,
whatever, you know. And I said, the second half came anyway, and I was getting confident, you know, that way you're getting confident. Anyway, I went into the middle, but after a ball or something, and I hopped off Des, and I fell on the ground like you know, whatever.
Sack of a David.
Yeah. And he comes over and he says, "Didn't I tell you at half time not to come in here? You're not ready for the men yet." And that was it, you know, "You're not ready for the men yet." He says, "Keep out there on the wing where you can go do these good things."
Damage.
Yeah.
Damage, yeah.
But like I can remember the mood really that the school was only too anxious to cooperate with Joey's, whom they hated, to actually, you know, this goal was up, and they won the All-Ireland.
Right.
They won the All-Ireland, I remember, in Croke Park, and I remember most of the fellas, Simon B and different fellas that were playing for Joey's at the time,
Right.
you know, and they won the All-Ireland.
Okay.
But like at that stage, if you were called a Railway Cup player,
Okay.
you were in the elite. You know what I mean? Because to get on a provincial team, you had to both be able to play football, and you also had to have enough people pulling for you. Because there might be 13 selectors. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
Every county had a selector. And it was great. And it was one for me and two for you and all this, you know what I mean? All that to get on the team, you know.
Yeah.
So they, but anyway, that was Des, and like he played on, and his brother Lar played. His brother Lar won an All-Ireland in '58 as well,
Okay.
and then he won in '63. You know.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know where we were now. We're lost. We're lost now.
Can I ask a question, or get you to ask a question? I'd like you to pick the 3 best basketball players you've played with and against.
Yeah, that'd be a fierce.
Tough question.
Why? Well, you see, it's a kind of a loaded question, you know, in its own way, because, like, I wouldn't like to pick any Vincent's player that I managed or played, you know what I mean, on front of another, you know what I mean, I mean, Dave Fitz is a lifelong friend of mine from the time he was 12, you know what I mean, like 58 years, he's 70 now, you know, and I said that, I was at his 70th birthday.
Right.
I came out. He didn't know that I caught him out. He thought I wouldn't remember it.
Right.
You know, but I had to take. You know, we're both in February and that and whatever. But anyway, I was at his due, and I said that to him. I said, I realise I met you when you were 12, and you were in the primary school, and I said you were sneaking in to watch the basketball in this hall in the secondary. And I said, and I asked you, I remember asking you, I said, do you want to play or whatever? And he says, yeah, I'm in the primary, but I'll come to the secondary and I want to play, and I really want to play and all the rest, you know. And he came over and he played, and like he's a lifelong friend of mine, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And he ended up, like he was only an ordinary, but he ended up a big player, you know, big, tall,
Yeah,
6'4" and 6'5" and everything.
Really athletic.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Like
I think-
he played on a team in England. He played for Crystal Palace, and when
Oh.
they were in their pomp, he was on that team.
Yeah, and the other one, the Bruno Rough Cutters. That was the original team. Now the Bruno Rough Cutters they were based in around Cheshire, Liverpool, around there, and the first Vaughan Thomas. Now he's a Welshman, but Vaughan Thomas was the mainstay of Welsh basketball.
Okay.
He was in the army. He was a sergeant or something. He was in the army, but he was. Now I met Vaughan Thomas in Munich at the Olympics, and he was with. I don't know who he was with. Maybe I don't think GB were playing in it, but anyway, he was there, and I met him. And I was talking to him, and he told me about the big breakthrough, where Bruno, the tobacco company, were going to sponsor a team, which he was putting together in the Liverpool area, and it was, you know, a major thing for basketball. Now he had basketball at heart, you know. He was that kind of a fella. He just loved basketball. But anyway, a deep thinker and everything. But anyway, I said to him, said I have a fella coming, he's going to go to school or something, or he's going to college or something.
Yeah, he went to PE college. He went to
Yeah,
Crystal Palace. I think that.
Yeah, he
they were
went
involved
somewhere.
in
I said, and he's going there. I said, and he's a good player and everything, and whatever. Dave got into. He took him on. He took him on over there. You know, Dave. I told Dave to go and see him or whatever he could fix up. Anyway, that I had told him you were coming. You know, and you might be coming. You could get a tryout or something. You know. So that was how that happened. You know what I mean? It was a chance meeting at the Olympics with this fella. That I got the word that this was going to start up, and you know, it was a really big breakthrough getting a sponsor for a team, you know, for a basketball team. We were used to weekend basketball in whoever was holding the tournament, you know, that kind of stuff. But then they were international leagues. This was the beginning of national leagues and different things in England, you know, and then Ireland followed suit, you know.
Yeah.
But the question you were asking is, like, I'd have to say, to play, like Bob Collins was first 5 in Dayton University, a Group 1 player, you know what I mean? So like he played in Dublin for a year, he went to Trinity, and Jerry Donovan, God be good to him, was a guard in College Street Station, and Jerry Donovan got word, as the guards get word about everything. There was an outstanding player in Trinity, and he was going to be playing in the leagues and whatever, and Jerry said, I'd go over to see him, and he was 6'6.5", 6'7". Played outside the guard,
Yeah.
20-foot jump shots, all that, you see. And Jerry went over, and the fellas in Trinity said, you know, they'd be, you know, the college would be come together from everywhere, you know, that kind of way. There wouldn't be a Vincent in them, you know what I mean? It'd be just, they'd be there for 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, they decided in their wisdom they didn't want him. Because he was too good. They didn't want him. And Jerry Dover ran back to the station and he got a registration form, and he went over to the gym and he got Bob Collins to sign it, to play for Garda,
Right.
a basement team. You know what I mean? Like the Garda.
Yeah.
And that's how Bob Collins
Played now.
played for the Garda. Now, when Bob Collins, he played for a year, and when he was going back, I got to know him because I was with Vincent, you know, like I got beyond the basketball scene, I got to know him. And when he was going back, he gave me a book. And inside in the book, on the back page, he had written all the regulation games that he had played. You know, regulation being a full game, not the blitzes or any of this stuff, but the full games and everything. And he gave me a list, and he had lost one full-length game in his career in Ireland, and it was playing for Dublin against Antrim in the All-Ireland semi-final. That was the only game he lost in a you know, like they won all the full-length games, something like 31 or 32 games.
Right.
Yeah. So
He's in your top three then.
well, he'd have to be, you know what I mean? Like, he was the first real player we seen. Now, John Prendergast, a first fiver from Georgetown University, he would have to be in it, you know, because we really didn't see him playing. We saw him playing against ourselves, which wasn't the real thing. You know, he'd be belonging in a level that we couldn't aspire to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he could hold his own in it. You know, like I got photos, magazines, and there he was. He was in the team. You know, they showed all the teams,
Yeah.
the college Group 1 or the Category 1 college teams, and there he was. He was in the photo, you know, he was there. So I said, if he came through all that, he could play in any company, you know what I mean? So like, he'd have to be in the top three. So that's two, but they're both Americans, you know? And I mean, the likes of Kelvin Troy, I mean, when you're rather he was on your team than on someone else's,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
The way he
Duke boy.
Oh, yeah. But I was going to tell you about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, he played with
But,
North
Chicago.
Carolina. North Carolina.
I know the story, and I was going to ask you to tell the story.
Yeah, Dean Smith.
Yeah.
And I recently found out, you go on and looking, you see, with all there's been good coverage, and I'm kind of picking up things from the past I didn't know anything about. But anyway, the fella from the Chicago Bulls, they were at the draft, you know, the meeting for the picking them and everything, you see. And the fella from there, he picked Jordan, right? And apparently he had a history of awful bad picks, you know what I mean? Everything, you see.
A bad team for years, so they were getting
And they were getting picks and they were no good, you know, or they didn't make a difference. But anyway, he had a few assistants. He had some fella, he said, it was an assistant coach or something, and he says, we took Jordan, but he was like down number 15 or something. You know, he was way down in the thing, you see. And he says, he picked him anyway. So Jordan turned up for the first workout with his new team or something, you see. And the old lad who had been there all through and watching all this bad, you know, not bad players, but, you know, not up to what they wanted. And he was there. And Jordan was anxious to impress that he could do things and everything, so he cut loose a bit in the first workout. And your man went in, the old coach went into the thing, and he rang his boss, and he says, boss, he says, for the first time in your life, "You got it right this time." He says, "We really have something, you know." So they were explaining then that subsequently that Dean Smith, whom I have met and talked to and everything, he was a North Carolina coach, lovely man, and you know, he was that kind of fella. If he wanted a player, he could talk him into playing for him, you know, that kind of way, that kind of attitude. But anyway, Dean Smith had Jordan in the lineup, but of course Dean Smith's teams were what I said to you, they were in the college mode, which meant there's none of this, you know what I mean? This is not one man shows, this is the team. And they play to the team and they do all the things, you see. And the discipline is there, you see, which meant that Jordan had to play according to protocol, you know, okay. But the coach then of the Bulls says, or that old lad said, now he says, when this fella is allowed cut loose like in the NBA, God knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And look what happened. He was the best player ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he had been held back. His creativity had been curtailed because of the discipline in the college team, you know. But when he got loose in the NBA, you know,
Now, tell us the story about you meeting Dean Smith at the Olympics.
Yeah. I met Dean Smith at the '76 Olympics in Montreal, and he was coming out with the team, and they'd just beaten Puerto Rico by a point, you know, by a point. And the thing I noticed was that in the last 30 seconds, the Puerto Ricans fouled the Americans, and the Americans had the option in the last 30 seconds. They had the option of possession or of taking the 2 free throws, you see. And I said to Dean Smith, I said, I don't care who you have or whatever, I said, on your team, but I said, I would have taken possession and not shoot the free throws, I said, and kind of play it safe, you know. And he says, my counter to that was, he says, I knew the fella would get the 2 free throws. I said, I was certain he was going to get them. And he says, and I was also certain if we attempted to take the ball in from the side, they'd have stolen it. Because they play like a swarm, you know, the Puerto Ricans.
Right.
You know, they're everywhere,
yeah.
you know. He says, they'd have stolen the ball off us. He said, so I said, the safer option ended up taking the free throws. And they won by a point. But he was, I went one Christmas, I went down to Madrid. They were playing in Madrid.
You told me this story.
Yeah, they were playing in Madrid in a tournament down there, you know, 4 teams or 4 teams I think it was just. But anyway, Real Madrid were the top dogs, and they had a fella playing for them called Emiliano. Now, Emiliano Rodriguez was his name, but he was an absolute legend down there. He could do no wrong and you couldn't touch him or anything, you know. And anyway, I must have been writing to Dean Smith or something, but he told me they were going to play in Madrid on Christmas Day. And he said, if you make your way down there, make sure you come and see me and everything anyway. But anyway, whatever way it worked out, I made my way down and I got to the hotel and he knew me. When he saw me, he knew me. And because he had run a course in Ruislip in London. He had ran a European American Forces clinic, you know, for coaches and players and different things. And I got invited to that as well. And I went down and I was there as a player as well as a coach, you know, so we were participating in everything. And so I had that in with them from that because, so I went to the match and somebody fouled Rodriguez, a kind of a a harsh foul. I suppose what you know the Americans, what you know the way they say it was wasn't category one, but it was
Afraid.
anyway. It was one of those meaty fouls and nearly put him through the floor or something. You see, and because the crowd came out of the seats, and, you know what I mean. There was really going to be a riot, you know. And to his credit, Rodriguez got up off the floor, you know, having let on he was dead, got up off the floor and he calmed the whole situation down and they got the game finished. And it was just, like, I couldn't believe, like, they were out for blood, you know, because you might as well talk about hitting one of your own, you know what I mean, like, to actually do anything to them. But, like, they won the game, Carolina won the game, you know, comfortably. But I could see the stuff he was, 2 years earlier, when I was at his court, and the stuff he was teaching, I could see it on the floor. I could see the execution of it, you know. They had certain things that they did. If there was a good shooter on the other team, they always went straight up on him. And they said their thing was they took away his best option. His best option was the first time shot. And if he couldn't do that, the chances are he couldn't do a whole lot more. You know what I mean? And they had a kind of a run and jump thing that they went at him straight off when he got the ball, so that he either passed off, and certainly he never got to do his comfortable play, what he was good at, you know. And other things like it was all there for me to see what he had taught us, you know. You could see it being executed on the floor, you know. And then they had, at that time, the zone press came into, you know, like, and like a lot of teams couldn't play it, and a lot of teams couldn't play against it. You know what I mean? Because the whole thing was, like, you had only so many seconds to get over the halfway line. So if you heaped enough trouble in the forward court, they mightn't get the ball over the halfway line, and you'd get, you know, you'd win possession of them. But like, he had ways of beating it. You know, they used the centre man, and you know he had options left and right. And you kept the middle of the floor. Don't be going out to the sidelines where you can be trapped. You know, keep, all that kind of stuff. And I could see all that being executed, you know, like it was just like seeing it being done by the fellas who could do it, you know.
Yeah, I love college basketball. I'd watch it every day of the week.
Yeah, I used, for one season here, they had it on ESPN or something, but anyway, they did have it, but now it's vanished. And of course, there has been no season for the last couple of years, you know. But they
what you call it, have it now. Sky haven't got it. What's the other crowd have it?
The college, have they?
No, Sky used to have used to be able to buy it on Sky, pay an extra package for it.
Oh yeah.
I always get it in for March Madness.
Oh yeah, you'd get it, exactly. For the but it's only that quarter from January to March that the whole thing is, you know. And but talk about competitive. I was at the Sweet 16. I was at the tournament in Atlanta, and like, the thing you noticed was, again, every team was disciplined and playing right and doing the right things, and they get a shot and they missed it, and that's it, you know what I mean? But it'd be a legitimate shot. It wouldn't be a prayer or anything, you know what I mean? It'd be a legitimate attempt and that. And the other thing I noticed was in the audience was all our kind of people, aged people, you know what I mean? Mature people who loved watching it. And obviously then, of course, it was costing a fortune to go to the games, you know. Maybe they had the money to go to it, you know what I mean? But there wasn't the crazy young, you know, boisterous, all of that. There was none of that. They were very, you know, and they'd know a good play when they seen it, you know what I mean, or a good move or something, you know.
We were on holidays in Florida, and we went to see UCF, which is the University of Central Florida.
Yeah.
And Jordan's two sons were actually playing on the team.
Where
Jordan was at the games.
At the game, yeah.
But we turned down Magic tickets, Orlando Magic tickets, to go and watch the college.
Oh, yes.
And
yeah,
we went to
yeah.
see. We were lucky when we were there. There was actually 3 or 4 games on.
Yes.
We got to see
yeah.
3 games, 3
Yeah.
men's and 1 women's
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
And but the best part of it for me was to see Jordan's kids play.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I much rather basketball, college basketball. Than
Oh
anything
yeah,
else.
well I was just kind of getting saturated now with the NBA,
Yeah.
with the team, and I said to myself, like, there's nobody goes down the floor that doesn't dunk the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we never had anyone who could dunk the ball. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that kind of stuff. So it's a different kind of a setup. But the thing that really amazed me looking at them now is the speed of the fellas. Jesus, you couldn't guard them, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they're gone. The next thing, he's gone through loads of big fellas and everything with the ball, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just, and then, like, round your legs and all that, I could do without all that, but you know, that's the way it is. That's what's the show, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and the other thing that's always worried, the high school is good basketball. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, I've never seen a high
No,
school game.
no,
I'd love to.
I don't think I have.
We were
Oh, I did. I went to. I was in New York in '75. No, '76. On my way to the Olympics, I was in New York, and there was a prep tournament down in Cincinnati, and I went with them to that, and they were playing. It'd be the. Oh, they were the new. Oh, I forget what their name is. Anyway, the New York. They were from that Riverside church. There was that crowd,
Okay.
and they were in the tournament, and I went with them, and they won. They won it, but they would have been fellas just ready for the college draft. You know, for
Yeah.
going into college,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's not really a draft. It's a kind of a whole bargaining thing that they're approached by colleges, and you know what I
You
mean.
get offers.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Like
yeah.
some players that have hundreds
Yeah.
of offers, and some
Yeah.
players that have 1 offer. And
Yeah. But the
Can I interrupt you?
yeah,
Yeah.
I want to get you out of the sun.
okay.
oh, we got you.
A couple of different reasons.
Yeah,
It's
hard
not
on.
great filming.
It's hard on the